Chapter 16:16. What made Long Chen feel a little uneasy was that these 6 ghost kings were much stronger than when he had seen them. Previously, one Rin she could still fight a few ghostly kings alone, but today, he was fighting 2 ghostly kings alone. He had reached his limit and was in danger. Lin Junyao was also fighting with 2 ghostly kings. The other 2 ghostly kings were very powerful. Facing more than a dozen third Nirvana realm martial artists, they were actually able to handle them with ease. Several martial artists were already seriously injured, but fortunately, there were no casualties. Little Shi helped the 2 martial venerables, Long Chen informed Lingxi, and appeared in front of the dozen third Nirvana realm martial artists. Long Chen's appearance brought great hope to the team that was about to be defeated. Most of the people here had seen Long Chen's performance in the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace. With Long Chen's power to kill the Lingwu Swordmaster, everyone's crisis would definitely be resolved. Although he did not transform into his divine dragon form, it was definitely enough to deal with these ghostly kings. The 2 ghostly kings were burly and powerful. They had green faces and fangs, and their mouths were spitting green mucus. At this moment, they were launching a violent attack on the Imperial Palace martial artists. Long Chen intervened. "Are you courting death?" Under Long Chen's terrifying power, the god-slaying sword in his hand slashed down with one hand. 81 sword rays shot out and instantly expanded into hundreds of meters of sword aura. With the support of the Massacre Dao seal, the wordless art sword directly minced the upper body of a ghostly king into pieces. The ghostly king that everyone had been fighting for a long time was defeated by Long Chen in one move. Back in the Shadow Realm, Long Chen was suppressed by King Chujiang to the point that he could not move. Everyone stopped and looked at Long Chen in horror. At this moment, another ghostly king with an even larger body pounced towards Long Chen. "Competing with me in strength?" Long Chen put away the god-slaying sword. When the ghostly king approached, his speed instantly soared, and in a short moment, he was behind the ghostly king. A dragon's roar exploded. Long Chen punched out and that terrifying force directly penetrated the ghost king's head. Xiao Chen then spun around, and his powerful dragon legs smashed the ghost king into the ground, creating a 100-meter-wide crater. Green mucus exploded, and a disgusting smell spread out. The 2 ghost kings instantly lost the ability to fight. So what if the Jie family was close to the 4th level of Nirvana? They were still being tortured by Long Chen. On the other side, Lingxi's 6-path immortal sword Qi wreaked havoc, causing the 2 ghost kings to let out horrifying screams as their bodies burned with white flames. The 6 ghost kings were instantly defeated. "Don't let them leave," Long Chen reminded loudly. But suddenly, black flames burst forth from the bodies of the 6 ghost kings. By the time the flames were gone, the 6 ghost kings had disappeared once more. Their speed of escape was faster than anything else. These damn things could never be killed. Long Chen felt a headache coming on. At this moment, he gathered with the 2 martial venerables. The others looked at Long Chen with awe. Was this still the same Long Chen who allowed them to point at him and give him grades? He was too amazing. With Lingxi's help, Wen Shi and Lin Junyao were not injured. They looked at Lingxi in shock. This is the potential of Goddess Su's blood? It's only been a few days, and you're already at the 3rd level of Nirvana? And you've even mastered the 6-path immortal sword with 9 Dao patterns? Lingxi smiled sweetly when someone praised her. "It's all thanks to Chen. How generous." Long Chen arrived, looked around and said, "Why were we attacked here?" Lin Junyao said, "We were looking for the demon tree. The miasma here is the thickest, so it should be nearby." Lingxi nodded. "It is indeed nearby. Otherwise, the ghost kings would not have appeared." "How did you get here so quickly?" She had just sent Wen Jingtao to find Long Chen. "I got here first. Aren't there 3 martial venerables? Where's Yi Futu?" Long Chen asked. "Yi Futu is not on good terms with us, but he has already admitted his mistake. The calamity has come, and the emperor has forgiven him. Right now, he should be leading his people to look for the demon tree." She said disdainfully. Back then, Yi Futu could suppress Long Chen, but now he could only look up to him. In the face of great danger, personal grudges were just a small matter. Long Chen didn't want to bother with him, and since there were so many people around, he said, "Little she can find the exact location of the demon tree. Everyone, be careful and follow me. We'll destroy this demon tree first." Wenren Shi and Lin Junyao looked at each other and nodded. Long Chen already had the combat power to match the sacred martial emperor's status, so it was no problem for him to command the three martial venerables. With Lingxi leading the way, the group continued forward. Long Chen learned a lot about the changes in the eastern royal region from Wenren Shi. Just as he was about to tell them the good news from Lingxi, someone came from the side. It was Yi Futu and the 5 third-level Nirvana Tribulation cultivators behind him, including the Hallmaster of Hanwu Temple. The group soon saw Long Chen. Among them, the Hallmaster of Hanwu Temple and Yi Futu had not seen Long Chen's terrifying performance in the Sword Spirit Imperial Palace, but Long Chen's deeds had spread throughout the world, so they must know. After seeing Long Chen, Yi Futu turned around and left without saying anything. "Come back," Long Chen said coldly. Yi Futu paused for a moment, then led the group to Long Chen. Although the Hallmaster of Hanwu Temple and the others were extremely unwilling, they still bowed. They respected Long Chen, the sacred martial emperor. The world's calamity is more important than personal grudges. The Eastern Royal region has suffered such a change, and the 10 Ghost Kings are hiding here. Any grudges are now gone. Don't wander around and get yourselves into trouble. We are going to eradicate the demon tree now. If Martial Sovereign Yi knows what's important, come with me. Long Chen did not want to stir up old grudges with him. Compared to the major events of the Eastern Royal region, Yi Futu's little grudge was nothing. Yes, sacred martial emperor. Yi Futu lowered his head. The image of a smiling Buddha was no longer there. Long Chen found that his eyes were gloomy. Perhaps he had been imprisoned by great Emperor Zhenwu for too long, so he was resentful. That was natural. But if he vented his resentment on such a major event, Long Chen would not let him go. "Follow me," Long Chen said. The group moved forward quickly. Long Chen needed the 3 martial sovereigns to take control of the ghost realm of the 16 prefectures, so he had to explain about Lingxi first. On the way, he explained clearly about Lingxi's blood of Goddess Su. Hearing this news, everyone was extremely excited. Even the Hallmaster of Hanwu Temple, although he did not like Long Chen, was overjoyed to hear that there was a way to save the world. After all, Emperor Dong's palace was also a part of Zhenwu Imperial Palace. Only Yi Futu looked indifferent. Chapter 16-17. When the demon tree is eradicated, mobilize the martial god palace disciples to take control of the 16 prefectures. Lingxi can save all living beings, Long Chen said in a deep voice. Wenren Shi was noble and virtuous, but when he saw millions of people die, his eyes turned red and he was filled with anger. When he heard that Lingxi had such power, he was quite impressed and said excitedly, "Young Emperor and Miss Lingxi, you are so young, but you have such thoughts and abilities." Wenren Shi is very impressed. "If there is anything in the future, just send me to do it. As long as I am alive, I will not shrink back." Lin Junyao was the same. Although she did not say anything, the determination in her eyes was clear. The other third-grade Nirvana Tribulation martial artists were also completely convinced by Long Chen. Everyone is responsible for the suffering of the common people. Those who rebel and harbor evil intentions will not be pitied even if they die. Long Chen uttered these strange words before moving again. The group advanced majestically, and the miasma in front of them became thicker and thicker. That was the Ghost Region Forest. This was a place Long Chen was familiar with. When he obtained the Godslayer's inheritance, he hid in this place to cultivate. This was a huge and boundless forest. Long Chen did not expect that the demon tree would be hidden in such a place. The entire ghastly domain forest was filled with the demonic trees. With Lingxi present, the miasma did not dare to approach at all. The group reached the depths of the Ghost Region Forest without any obstacles. Long Chen looked up. In front of him, there was a black and red demonic barrier, similar to the wind and snow demon region of the Shadow Demon Realm, standing in the middle of the forest. In the demonic barrier, the demon tree, which looked like a black naked girl, was dancing inside. They saw this kind of thing again. If it was not the eyes of the city lord of the wronged, then what could it be? Through the demonic barrier, the group could not see clearly. However, when they saw the source of this evil, everyone was filled with hatred and anger. The 10 great ghost kings may appear. I will break this demonic barrier. The 3 martial venerables, prepare to fight. Lingxi, stay with the other martial artists and protect them. Make sure everyone is safe, Long Chen instructed. Yes. Everyone listened to the order. Lingxi was even more happy, because Long Chen didn't protect her, but gave her this very important task. This was a sign of trust. After giving the order, Long Chen moved forward resolutely. Under his summons, 50 golden demon imprisonment columns suddenly appeared and suppressed the heaven and earth. 55 clawed golden dragons coiled around the 50 golden demon imprisonment columns and let out terrifying roars. In an instant, all the miasma was scared away. A golden radiance burst forth from Long Chen's body, piercing through the sky. The divine might reappeared. All the martial artists had awe in their eyes. Change! A total of 50 golden demon imprisonment columns, under Long Chen's control, first shrunk, then combined, forming a single golden demon imprisonment column. It wasn't a fusion, but a combination. The golden lightning wrapped all the golden demon imprisonment columns together. 50 mystical dragons circled around the golden demon imprisonment pillar, emitting a majestic aura. Long Chen's eyes were cold. With the golden demon subduing column in his hand, he revealed a cold smile. City Lord of the Wronged, Old Ghost. Long Chen raised the golden demon imprisonment column high. You guys, still not willing to come out? Just as Long Chen said this, a total of 9 ghost kings appeared from within the demon repellent, staring at Long Chen with bloodthirsty eyes. 9 great ghost kings, incomparably terrifying. Everyone was a little fearful. But seeing Long Chen, this pillar, standing boldly in front of them, no one was afraid. The 3 martial honorables came out together, standing beside Long Chen. As the ghost kings moved, Long Chen's lips curled into a cold smile. He said, I'll deal with 6, the 3 of you each take 1. The 3 martial honorables were shocked. If they each took on 2, and Long Chen took on 3, it might be better. But Long Chen had the courage, so they could only do as he said. Hatred, passion, pain. At this moment, there was a loud explosion. Long Chen represented the millions of humans, gathering the power of their faith into his body. The golden demon imprisonment column let out a deafening roar. I want to see if your undying bodies are truly undying. At this moment, Long Chen did not hesitate. With the violent golden demon imprisonment column in his hand, he was like a primordial beast as he moved out. Of the 9 ghost kings, 6 immediately went to deal with Long Chen. Long Chen was enraged, and the golden demon imprisonment column came crashing down. 9 dragons devour the heavens. When the golden demon imprisonment column came crashing down with terrifying power, the 6 ghost kings blocked it together. Boom! At this moment, 2 of the ghost kings were directly turned into dust by Long Chen's power, falling into the demon repellent. They did not die. Long Chen's eyes were bloodshot. The golden demon imprisonment column swept out again. The remaining 7 ghost kings howled. I know you're watching. Long Chen roared. Watch carefully, I will get my revenge. As long as I don't die, even if you come back to life, even if you are strong with my potential one day, I will tear you to pieces. If you anger me, don't let me live. Remember my oath today. If you dare touch the human race, if you dare touch the common people, I will make you pay with your blood. At this moment, the golden demon imprisonment column exploded with its peak power, and smashed down again. The 4 ghost kings defended frantically. Golden demon imprisonment formation. When this move was executed, the ferocious rod shadows completely confined the 4 great ghost kings. The crowd could only watch as the 4 great ghost kings were smashed into smithereens by the frenzied Long Chen's golden demon imprisonment column. The last staff strike, Long Chen landed on the demon repellent, and instantly, the demon repellent exploded. Get out of the way! Long Chen roared. The 3 martial honorables hurriedly retreated. Long Chen used the aftermath of the golden demon imprisonment column to sweep across, and the remaining 3 ghost kings exploded in the sky. The sky was filled with black particles that rained down. Countless people looked at this scene in shock, and swallowed their saliva. In their eyes, Long Chen was already a godlike existence. At this moment, the demon repellent exploded, and the black-red demon repellent disappeared. What appeared in front of everyone was a bewitching black tree. This might be a tree, but it looked more like a naked black girl. The girl's figure was like a devil, seductive, and had endless charm. Long Chen immediately looked at her eyes, but realized that they were empty. Ha heart! Someone exclaimed. Long Chen hurriedly looked over and saw that there was a person on her heart. It was a person surrounded by black veins. For a moment, he couldn't see the person's face clearly, but he could sense a powerful aura coming from the person. Long Chen suddenly remembered that there were only 9 ghost kings that appeared just now. He suddenly remembered that Kitten said that this move of the City Lord of the Wronged was used to increase the strength of the ghost kings. This ghost king was the core of the demon tree, and also the heart of that bewitching girl. The 3 clicked chapters were posted together. Even the clicks fell to 3rd place. Dragons, what are you all doing? Work hard to counterattack. You wanted to charge to the top, but you fell to 3rd place. Don't embarrass yourself too much. Chapter 16-18. The 9 ghost kings were all blasted into smithereens by the overwhelming might of Long Chen's golden demon imprisonment column. Everyone understood how powerful the 9 ghost kings were. Previously, they had no way of dealing with 2 ghost kings. As for Wenren Shi and Lin Junyao, as martial venerables, they could only deal with 2 ghost kings. While the 3 martial venerables couldn't even defeat their first opponent, Long Chen had not only broken the demonic barrier, but he had also shattered the 9 ghost kings. As for whether or not he could truly kill them, Long Chen was powerless. This was because under the control of the City Lord of the Wronged, their regenerative abilities were too strong. Back then, the dynasty had been smashed into smithereens by Long Chen, yet they had still survived, let alone the 10 ghost kings. The only thing he could do was to eradicate the demon tree as soon as possible. The 3 martial venerables and the rest of the experts stopped their attacks and waited for Long Chen to launch the final attack on the demon tree. At the same time, they were also paying attention to their surroundings to prevent the 10 ghost kings from appearing again. Long Chen held the golden demon imprisonment column in his hand and walked forward resolutely. His eyes were cold. In front of him, at the heart of the demon tree, there was a short, fat man covered in black. He was surrounded by thick black veins, and his heart was beating non-stop, just like a real heart. This reminded Long Chen of the City Lord of the Wronged's heart in his god's kingdom. That was also a person, and it was a beautiful young lady in blue. What the hell was the City Lord of the Wronged? When Long Chen had interacted with him, he had been very amiable. However, when he was in the demonic shadow realm, Long Chen had realized that he was a true demon. The golden demon imprisonment column, which was filled with explosive power, spun in his hand. Long Chen focused all his attention on the demon tree. Just as everyone was holding their breaths and waiting for Long Chen's final attack, when everyone let their guard down, the eyes of one of the 3 martial venerables, the massacre martial venerable, suddenly exploded with an intense bloody glow as he charged in the direction of Lingxi. Yi Futu. Wenren Shi and Lin Junyao were both alarmed. They hurriedly chased after Yi Futu. Although they didn't know why Yi Futu was acting so crazily, his sudden actions were definitely nothing good. Furthermore, he had a grudge against Long Chen. The person Yi Futu was targeting was Lingxi. No one knew the reason. In fact, even the hall master of Hanwu Temple was stunned. He was standing right next to Lingxi, and he was closer to Lingxi. He could clearly see Yi Futu's unimaginably bloodthirsty gaze. Yi Futu's sudden attack on Lingxi alarmed everyone. Lingxi was Long Chen's true love and Long Chen's fatal weakness. Did Yi Futu want to subdue Lingxi and target Long Chen? No one knew, but it had something to do with Long Chen. But at this time, Long Chen was preparing to deal with the demon tree. At this critical moment, Lingxi, who was always on guard, felt Yi Futu's murderous intent. She was actually very smart. She knew that Yi Futu and Long Chen weren't on good terms, so when he made his move, she was immediately alerted. Yi Futu had never seen Lingxi in action before. Lingxi had dealt with the Ghost King before. If he had seen Lingxi in action, he definitely wouldn't have been so careless. Just as Yi Futu reached out with his murderous claws, the beautiful 6 Paths Divine Sword appeared in Lingxi's hand. A pure light shot out, and the 6 Paths Divine Sword became the focus of everyone's attention. Tao of the human realm, unfettered roam. At this moment, Lingxi already possessed boundless strength. She wasn't a pushover that could be easily pinched. The 6 Path Immortal Swords executed the innate Taoist art. Under her dance, the 6 Path Immortal Swords formed a mesmerizing dance. She was like a fairy dancing gracefully in the heavenly palace. Lingxi executed a mystical footwork that was soft and smooth. The 6 Path Immortal Swords in her hand easily displayed shocking killing intent. Wherever the dance went, it looked peaceful, but sword chi was actually everywhere. Lingxi's power was Yi Futu's biggest mistake. Not only did Yi Futu fail, he even managed to force Ling Shi's sharp sword away. He was now 20 meters away from Ling Shi, unable to advance any further. His strength was no weaker than that of an ordinary fourth-stage Nirvana Tribulation cultivator, and with the terrifying power of the Six-Path Celestial Sword, he was unable to advance any further. At this moment, his blood-red eyes turned into a look of extreme shock. He hadn't expected the attack that he had planned for so long to fail so easily. Lingxi had already exceeded his expectations. But he hadn't expected Lingxi to actually have the Six Paths Divine Sword. This was a super weapon equivalent to the 5 Elements Clear Sky Pagoda. The 4 great sword masters had actually allowed her to bring it out? Just as Yi Futu was reeling in shock, that sinister voice rang out behind him. What? You're not going to continue? Hearing this voice, Yi Futu's hair stood on end. Long Chen was 20 meters behind him, looking at him with a cold smile. That golden demon imprisonment column, which weighed millions of kilograms, was being played with easily in his hands. I'm asking you, why aren't you continuing? Long Chen's tone was heavy. In his anger, Yi Futu laughed coldly and said, I believe you. Life is full of ups and downs. It's your world now. But Long Chen, don't be too smug. If you knew how terrifying he really is, you definitely wouldn't be happy right now. The 3 regions and 9 worlds are destined to be destroyed, and you are also destined to die. I'm the only one who can survive. Speaking of this, Yi Futu became extremely fanatical. From his words, Long Chen could tell that something was amiss. He said, Looks like you've defected to the City Lord of the Wronged? He was heartbroken. As one of the 3 great martial venerables, he wasn't angered by the deaths of his people, but defected to the City Lord of the Wronged? Long Chen had long noticed that something was wrong with this guy, but he didn't want to make it clear. He hadn't expected him to expose himself. As for the reason he went to deal with Lingxi, it was obvious that Long Chen had previously told him that Lingxi had the ability to cleanse curses. So he realized that if he could kill Lingxi, it would definitely be a great achievement. In this life, Long Chen couldn't tolerate traitors. Especially this kind of ungrateful, heartless traitor. There was no room for reasoning now. Long Chen walked towards Yi Futu. Yi Futu retreated step by step. I'll ask you one last question. Do you feel that you've let down the imperial palace and the parents who raised you? Yi Futu, or are you not a human? Long Chen stopped in his tracks. Hearing this, Yi Futu laughed maniacally. Kid, don't try to persuade me to turn back. I've already fallen into the demonic path. How can I turn back? The Emperor imprisoned me under that golden mountain. Do you know how much I've suffered? You're the pride of the heavens. You were born with everything. How would you know how much I've suffered? Long Chen was speechless. I'll send you to the afterlife. With that, a blood-colored mark appeared in Long Chen's hand. There were 50,000 hits. Fuck. Chapter 16-19. The other 2 martial venerables were still in the dark about Yi Futu's betrayal. They were not as sharp as Long Chen and did not notice the minute changes in Yi Futu, but Long Chen had already known. That was why he had purposely warned Lingxi to be careful of this fellow. Otherwise, Lingxi would not have reacted so quickly. Wenren Shi and Lin Junyao looked troubled. They still felt that there was a chance. After all, they had spent so much time with Yi Futu and knew that he was not a bad person. Perhaps he had been forced into a corner this time. Or perhaps he had acted on impulse. But they could not stop Long Chen. Long Chen hated inhumane things like this. That was why he did not want to listen to their explanations for even a moment. Massacre Dragon Seal. This was the first Khanate Dao technique left behind by the ancient blood spiritual dragon. Back then, the Royal Heaven Swordmaster and the Demonic Sky Swordmaster had used their strongest double attacks, but Long Chen had used the Massacre Dragon Seal to beat them half to death. And today, that terrifying blood-red seal had formed in Long Chen's palm once again. Within the Massacre Dragon Seal, there seemed to be an exceptionally bloody world. In this world, there were billions of vengeful spirits, all shrieking. The murderous aura caused everyone present to tremble in fear. People might have misconceptions about killing. Long Chen's killing was a righteous killing because his starting point was to protect. If not for protecting the masses, he would not have needed to kill Yi Futu. He could not imagine that a person could actually do this. He could actually abandon his own race and everything that had given birth to him to rely on an evil demon and then help them to torment his own people. If not for his firm resolve, Long Chen would not have let him say a single word. "You are the Massacre Marshal Venerable?" Holding the Massacre Dragon seal, Long Chen walked over step by step. Yi Futa's eyes were filled with fear. He retreated step by step and said coldly, "So what?" The Massacre Dragon seal made his voice tremble. "Trash like you. What do you know about killing?" Long Chen roared. In that instant, his speed increased by several times. His speed and ferocity surpassed the perception of the three great martial venerables. This was especially true after he harmonized his yin and yang with Lingxi. After being stimulated by Goddess Su's blood, his nirvana force increased once again. At this moment, he was much stronger than when he was in the Sword God Palace. In an instant, while Yi Futu had no way of resisting, Long Chen's blood-red massacre dragon mark landed directly on Yi Futa's forehead. Yi Futa's body was completely unharmed, but he collapsed to the ground. He had become a corpse, and there was no sound at all. Dead. Looking at Yi Futa's fate, everyone's mouths were dry and they couldn't say a single word. The leader of the Hanwu Temple and the others had followed Yi Futu all their lives, but they had never thought that the person they respected the most would betray the human race. This made them extremely conflicted. Morality and kindness were in conflict. Yi Futu was someone they owed a debt of gratitude to. But he had actually wanted to kill Lingxi. Lingxi was the hope of millions of people coming back to life. If Lingxi died, it would be the same as millions of people dying. What was Yi Futu thinking? As for the two great martial venerables, they had stood side by side with Yi Futu for so long. Seeing him end like this, they had mixed feelings. But no matter what, they were still shocked by Long Chen's strength. That was the concept of invincibility. He had killed a massacre venerable with one move. When Yi Futu fell, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. With Long Chen's personality and strength, he had no problem being the leader of the sacred martial emperor. Chen. Lingxi was the one who knew Long Chen best. She knew that while Long Chen looked cold-blooded, he was actually very unwilling. After all, it was a time of crisis. The three great martial venerables were so powerful that even Zhenwu Great could not make up his mind to teach Yi Futu a lesson. But Long Chen had killed him. Long Chen was not bloodthirsty. He just hated. Moreover, Yi Futa's illness was beyond cure. There was no cure. In terms of decisiveness, Long Chen had surpassed Zhenwu Great. But, after killing Yi Futu, Long Chen did not relax. "Everyone, be careful. Gather together," Long Chen ordered, then looked in the direction of the demon tree. "For safety reasons," he said, "come into my God Kingdom." He had a premonition that a great battle was about to break out. The Ghost King, who had absorbed the power of 5 million living beings and had become stronger, was now letting out a terrifying roar. He gradually tore the blood vessels in his body, and with a pair of blood-red eyes, he stared in Long Chen's direction. Under Long Chen's orders, everyone entered his God Kingdom. At this moment, Long Chen had become the strongest individual soldier in the 3 domains and 9 realms. "You have to be careful," Lingxi said. Only then did she feel reassured to let him protect her. Between heaven and earth, only Long Chen was left. Crack! The blood vessels in the demon tree's heart all broke. The short, stocky Ghost King walked out with terrifying power. Long Chen clearly noticed that this Ghost King was different from the other Ghost Kings. This Ghost King must be Qin Guang Wang. He walked step by step towards Long Chen, and the entire Ghost Domain forest trembled. On his body, chaotic black power was sweeping out. Any plant within 100 miles was sent flying by him. The ground trembled, and Qin Guang Wang roared madly. "Long Chen, are you surprised?" Suddenly, Yi Futa's voice came from Qin Guang Wang. In truth, Long Chen was indeed frightened. Seeing Long Chen's shocked expression, Yi Futu laughed. "You think you can kill me? Fool! When have I ever been useless and let a little fellow like you kill me? Let me tell you. This is what the Lord has given me. He has given me an immortal body. Haha, before you seek longevity and immortality, I already have an immortal body. I can live for millions of years, and one day you will die to the nirvana tribulation. Why should I not rely on such a generous Lord?" So this was his true goal. Long Chen revealed a disdainful sneer when he saw the ferocious fangs and iron chains all over his body. He said, "From today onwards, you can only survive by eating your own kind. You will lose everything and obtain a filthy body. You will endure endless loneliness and solitude. To think that you thought it was something good." Long Chen's words thoroughly infuriated Yi Futu. He opened his huge mouth, revealing his sharp fangs that were as hard as Dao treasures. "What do you know? You will die sooner or later. Everyone will die sooner or later. The 3 regions and 9 worlds will all become our slaughterhouse. When I eat you, you will regret it. Do you want to contribute more to the battle? Relive the dragon's blood and read it from the beginning. Burn." Next chapter, 13 points. Chapter 16:20. For someone who had already gone mad, words were useless. Long Chen didn't know what happened to this fellow. What poison did the city lord of the wronged feed him to make him worship that fellow so much? Yi Futu was a martial venerable. Perhaps he was dissatisfied with Zhenwu Great Emperor's suppression of him. But he couldn't blame anyone but himself for his greed for power. He wanted to use Yang Chen to gain power from Zhenwu Great Emperor. He was courting death. Long Chen didn't want to say more. He let the golden demon imprisonment column return to the kingdom of God with his left hand. The sharp god-slaying sword appeared in Long Chen's right hand. "This was given to me by the city lord of the wronged. Did he let you take it back?" Long Chen asked coldly. Yi Futu sneered as he approached. "One day, he'll take it." In fact, Long Chen was shocked. This fellow's strength was probably close to the late stage of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. This was the result of the destruction of the 16 prefectures. If the Lord of the Tragic City destroyed the Eastern Royal Region, the true Martial Emperor Palace, the 3 regions and 9 realms, and billions of lives, then just how powerful would the 10 great Ghost Kings be? No wonder Yi Futu was so superstitious about the city lord of the wronged. This was the power of immortality. This was the way to escape the rules of the heavenly Tao. Even if he gave up his human body, even if he could only eat raw flesh, so what? He had obtained immortality. He had escaped the Nirvana Tribulation and no longer had to be afraid. Long Chen finally understood what he was thinking. The god-slaying sword was pointed at him. At this moment, Yi Futu let out a low growl, looking for an opportunity to attack. He knew how terrifying Long Chen was. He knew that Long Chen had defeated the Lingwu Swordmaster, so he was even more careful. "I have the power of 5 million lives. Are you angry? Are you hateful? Haha, it's useless. You'll become part of my power sooner or later." Yi Futu laughed maniacally. He was trying to anger Long Chen. But Long Chen was unmoved. The god-slaying sword vibrated and let out a soft hum. "Will you be able to receive this sword strike?" Long Chen suddenly asked. Such contempt and provocation made Yi Futu feel humiliated. Once upon a time, Long Chen was just an ant beneath his feet. Today, Long Chen had killed him with a single move, and after he had grown stronger, Long Chen had threatened him with a single sword strike. Not only did he fail to anger Long Chen, he even angered Long Chen. At that moment, Yi Futu let out a deafening roar. Vast power gathered on his body as he turned into a beam of black light that tore through space and charged at Long Chen. The power of 5 million lives gathered on his body and power. He was not much weaker than Long Chen. His ugly appearance, when compared to Long Chen's indifferent and confident appearance, was like heaven and earth. Long Chen closed his eyes as his opponent attacked furiously. "What do you mean by killing a god with a single strike?" This was Long Chen's question to himself. He closed his eyes to feel the mysteries of the massacring sword art. The sword will spread in all directions, forming Long Chen's perception. He felt Yi Futu's path. So it's here. At that moment, he finally understood the true god-slaying art. When Yi Futu's frenzied attacks caused the heavens and the earth to crack, Long Chen easily slashed out with his sword. That gray sword formed an unpredictable crescent trajectory. At that moment, Long Chen's entire body became a blur. In Yi Futu's eyes, all that was left was that elusive sword. In the blink of an eye, the sword was right in front of his eyes. Yi Futu retreated desperately. Even with the power of 5 million lives, he was unable to retreat. At that moment, the god-slaying sword pierced through his head. "Do you think you can escape?" Long Chen looked down at him from above. This was the true god-slaying art. When the sword pierced the opponent, the murderous aura left him with no chance to dodge. As the god-slaying sword's grey aura spread, Yi Futu, who was in the late stage of nirvana tribulation, let out an earth-shattering scream. Long Chen's hatred for him was at its peak. Of course, he would not let him off just like that. The god-slaying sword slashed down. Yi Futu's body was split in half. Long Chen advanced again. The massacre seal in his palm struck the other half of Yi Futu's body. Wang! That half of the body was reduced to the smallest particles. This was the power of the ancient blood spiritual dragon. It was also Long Chen's most powerful attack. After destroying this half of the body, Long Chen realized that the other half of the body was frantically escaping. Yi Futu was completely terrified of Long Chen. To him, Long Chen was like a nightmare at this moment. A martial venerable had been killed in one move. The strengthened Ghost King was stabbed by his sword, and his palm strike took away half of its life. What kind of power was this? In the God Nation, everyone was even more impressed. The Ghost King's greatest ability was to escape. Long Chen rushed towards him at the fastest speed he had ever been. As he neared, the demon tree began to sway wildly, as if it had truly come to life. Thousands of branches shot towards Long Chen. Wordless technique. 81 rays of sword chi shot out violently and instantly shattered the endless branches into pieces. Even the demon tree could not do anything to Long Chen. With a sweep of Long Chen's sword, the gigantic demon tree was directly chopped in half. Just as he was about to swing his sword at Yi Futu, a loud boom exploded in his ears. Long Chen! Long Chen nearly lost his balance from the tremors. This was the voice of the city lord of the wronged. It was at this moment that Yi Futu found an opportunity. His entire body melted into the demon tree, and the remaining half of the demon tree quickly burrowed into the soil. The next time we meet, I will tear your family apart and kill everyone around you. Yi Futu screamed and said angrily. Long Chen gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to continue, the city lord of the wronged spoke again. Have you forgotten? I'll wait for you in the eternal hell. There's not much time left. Give me my heart in exchange. Otherwise, that girl's life will be gone. You've become so strong. You must be very bold. Come to my eternal hell. That girl must be very important to you. Will you just watch her die? Hurry up and come. Haha, otherwise, I'll create a good show. I'll make you regret ever being born into this world. Hurry up and come to my side. I won't kill you. I'll give you eternal life. I just want my heart back. Remember, I'll wait for you. The gates of the city of the wronged will always be open for you. These voices were like sleep talk, reverberating in Long Chen's ears. At this moment, Long Chen's eyes were bloodshot. Scram! The god-slaying sword swept out. A terrifying murderous sword chi swept out, cutting the nearby demon tree and the distant forests and mountains in half. But the last section of the demon tree still escaped, disappearing without a trace in an instant. Did you know how the fans of City of Sinners supported it? Chapter 16:21. To be honest, the last words of the city lord of the wronged had a great impact on Long Chen. There was nothing he cared about more than Yongling Qing and the survival of all living beings. The city lord of the wronged seemed to have grabbed his Achilles heel, making him feel extremely uncomfortable at every moment. The demon tree was gone, and the miasma in the sky began to disappear. Everything in the eastern royal region began to return to normal. This operation could be considered a success, but it could also be considered a failure. The failure was because there was still no progress in the oppressive situation. The city lord of the wronged was still in the dark, still suppressing Long Chen. Long Chen's current strength didn't seem to be a threat to him. He was tempting Long Chen to go to the city of the wronged. Who knew what would happen there? But if he didn't go to the city of the wronged, Long Chen would never be able to resurrect Yongling Qing. But Yongling Qing didn't have much time left. At most, she had half a year left. He took a deep breath. I can't be frightened. After adjusting his state, Long Chen let everyone out of the divine kingdom. The most important thing now wasn't to worry, but to use Lingxi's power to restore the 5 million ghosts to their original state. Everyone looked at each other. Long Chen took on the responsibility and said, I had no choice but to kill Yi Futu today, but as you all can see, he's beyond redemption. I only regret that I didn't kill him. Given his understanding of the true martial emperor palace, He will definitely cause great harm to us in the future. Does anyone have any objections? He looked at the hall master of the Hanwu temple and the others. The hall master of the Hanwu temple was the one who had spoken coldly to Long Chen. At this moment, he was struggling internally. When Long Chen looked at him, he took a deep breath and said, "I'm convinced. My master. Although I am selfish, in my heart, the human race is the most important. Since he abandoned the race that gave birth to him, I have nothing to say about your decision." As long as there were no objections. Long Chen faced the crowd and said, "Lingxi can save everyone. There's no time to lose now. The two martial saints should quickly make arrangements to completely control the 16 prefectures. Let the strong cultivators enter the 16 prefectures and control the movement of the ghosts. I will bring Lingxi and do my best to save as many people as possible." The two martial saints looked at each other. That's right, this is the most important thing. Everyone, hurry to the border, deploy your forces, and control the 16 prefectures. Under Long Chen's orders, everything was in order. After they left, Long Chen brought Lingxi to the first prefecture they had planned, the Netherworld Prefecture. They were about to start from the Netherworld Prefecture to save the common people. "Lingxi, do you regret it?" On the way, Long Chen suddenly asked. Lingxi shook her head and said seriously, "If I can contribute my strength and let them live, I won't regret it even if I die." Long Chen gently stroked her head and said softly, "Baby, how can I bear to let you die? This is just the City Lord of the Wrong's demonstration. Who knows how many people will die in the future? You are the most important person, so you must not hurt yourself. Life and death are fates, and we should save as many as we can. If we go beyond this limit, no one will benefit." "Yes." Seeing Long Chen's love for her, Lingxi nodded happily. "Chen, you were so cool today. You're not just the hero in my heart, but the hero in everyone's heart," Lingxi said seriously. "Is that so?" Long Chen chuckled. But he didn't want to be a hero. Every time a hero appeared, most people were dead. If not for the City Lord of the Wronged, the two of them would probably be living a carefree life. Maybe one day, they would have a mission to charge into the Eternal God realm, but it wouldn't be so dangerous. In fact, saving 5 million people was much more difficult than Long Chen had imagined. Most importantly, Lingxi also had a limit. If she used too much nirvana power, it would bring her a lot of trouble and might even endanger her life. In fact, nirvana tribulation cultivators had always avoided risking their lives in order to deal with the nirvana tribulation. After the City Lord of the Wrongful Death retreated, the miasma between heaven and earth disappeared. The true Martial Emperor Palace's disciples sent out a large number of disciples to control the 16 prefectures, preventing the ghosts from moving around. Long Chen brought Lingxi along every day, using nirvanic energy to dispel the evil curse on them. At the end of each day, Lingxi would be exhausted. However, in reality, she had a tough personality, especially when she was by Long Chen's side. Therefore, most of the time, she had to forcibly hold on by herself. Although the dispelling effect of her nirvana power was very strong, there were too many people who were heavily cursed. This number was close to 5 million. At the speed of one prefecture a day, it would take about 16 days to complete the task. In the meantime, Wenren Shi and Lin Junyao went back to True Martial Emperor Palace once and transferred a large number of immortal essences from the palace's storage for Lingxi to use to recuperate and restore her nirvana power. Every night, when he saw her pale face and no smile in front of him, Long Chen's heart was particularly heavy with hatred. If it wasn't for the City Lord of the Wronged, all of this wouldn't have happened and Lingxi wouldn't have forced herself to this extent for him. "Rest for a while." Long Chen supported her and said with a heartache. "No, if we endure a little longer, we can save a few more people. They all have parents, wives and children." Lingxi shook her head stubbornly. The longer they dragged on, the more life they would consume. A part of it would be the dispelled curse and their life force would dissipate. Fortunately, the Emperor Palace provided immortal essences to support them. Otherwise, Lingxi would never be able to complete this shocking task. After 16 days, the two of them went to 16 prefectures and saved almost 4 million lives. As the saying goes, saving a life is better than building a 7-storied pagoda. Lingxi's merit this time could be said to be perfect. The people who were saved all treated Lingxi like a god. In addition, Long Chen's holy martial emperor title made him a godlike existence in true martial emperor domain. In the midst of danger, the two of them were like the pillars and saviors of millions of people. Long Chen and Ling Xi's reputation spread along with the news of the calamity. Countless citizens were panicking, but at the same time, they also felt a sense of hope. The hope that came from the two of them. Sometimes, faith was more important than anything else. As millions of people knelt and worshipped, Ling Xi's eyes were also filled with tears. At this moment, Long Chen deeply understood how precious life was. He put his arm around Ling Xi's shoulder and gently wiped away her tears. He said, "A kind girl will definitely be rewarded. Let's go back to the Emperor Palace first. We'll see how things go. There's a martial venerable here, so it's fine." Okay. Chapter 1622. After experiencing the cycle of life and death of 5 million living beings in the Eastern Emperor region, after experiencing another clash with the city lord of the tragic death in the Ghost Domain forest, and after seeing Ling Xi exhaust herself in order to revive so many people, Long Chen's decision in the depths of his heart underwent a huge change. That great hatred was urging him to fight to the death with the city lord of the wronged as soon as possible. Otherwise, who knew how many people would die at his hands, how much suffering Ling Xi would suffer, and whether young Ling Qing would be able to survive in the end. These were the thorns in Long Chen's heart. The two of them returned to the true martial emperor palace from the universal teleportation array. It would take them about a day or two to arrive. "Chen, you have a lot on your mind," Ling Xi said thoughtfully. Long Chen shook his head and said, "It's nothing. I'm just wondering when I can get rid of this tumor." Ling Xi nodded and said, "I know, but don't worry. It's okay. I know what I'm doing." After returning to the true martial emperor palace, Long Chen received a grand welcome. However, a large number of disciples from the 3,000 halls had been scattered throughout the true martial emperor domain. There were also a few young martialists left in the martial god palace. Long Chen let Ling Xi wait in the 5 elements clear sky pagoda while he went to see the true martial emperor alone. He could easily reach the highest point of the 5 elements clear sky pagoda, and naturally could enter the true martial emperor's space. "Emperor, I'm back." Long Chen looked around. "Well, very good." The true martial emperor's hoarse voice sounded. "I heard about what happened in the Eastern Imperial Domain. You handled it well. Also, since Miss Ling Xi has such a miraculous ability, you must protect her well and follow her closely at all times. The city lord of the wronged will not allow such a woman to exist in the world." The true martial emperor did not blame Long Chen for killing Yi Futu. Moreover, Yi Futu wasn't dead. Long Chen went straight to the point. "Right now, the 3 regions and 9 realms have all learned about the city lord of the wronged, and they are all making their own preparations. The news of the calamity cannot be hidden, and it will soon spread throughout the 3 regions and 9 realms, causing great panic, so we still need to do a lot of psychological preparation. The biggest problem is that we are too passive. We are in the light and they are in the dark. Just like the matter with the Eastern Emperor region this time, if it wasn't for someone reporting, there definitely wouldn't have been so few people who died." At this point, Great Emperor Zhenwu felt rather helpless. He sighed and said, "The calamity has descended, and we have no choice but to fight to the death and resign ourselves to fate." Thinking of the city lord of the wronged, Long Chen's eyes turned cold. He could not forget the hatred this time. Young Ling Qing's helpless gaze, Ling Xi's exhaustion, and the millions of deaths made him unable to restrain himself. This was the person he hated the most. He raised his head and said in a clear voice, "Emperor, I don't think this can go on. I want to go to the city of the wronged and do my best to end this battle as soon as possible. If they were too slow, more people would definitely die a violent death. This matter has reached a point where we cannot delay any longer." When he said this, Great Emperor Zhenwu was shocked. He then said in a serious tone, "You must not do this. Long Chen, you are much more mature than before. You must not do such an impulsive thing. Your value lies in your great potential. There is still more than half a year before your sister's death. The more time passes, the more powerful you will be, and the more of a threat you will be to him. Let someone like me, who deserves to die, do this kind of suicidal thing." "Emperor!" Long Chen could not bear it any longer. Great Emperor Zhenwu continued in a serious tone, "Put the lives of the world first, not personal hatred and emotions. If you go now, you will fall into his trap and give him his heart. If he recovers to his peak, the 3 regions and 9 realms will perish." Great Emperor Zhenwu's words made Long Chen shut his mouth. He was right. He was being forced into a corner and had lost his sense of propriety. But no matter what, there was only a little more than half a year left. For cultivators, half a year passed quickly. So we can only wait for death? Long Chen could not tolerate such a passive situation. Great Emperor Zhenwu said, "Of course not. There is a very important matter that only you can do." "What is it?" Long Chen asked. Great Emperor Zhenwu said, "These days, I have gradually established communication channels with the 9 realms, the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace, and the Demon Dragon Palace Master to exchange information. However, there has been no news from the Desolation Emperor Palace. Given the arrogant personality of the Desolation Emperor, he may not care about this catastrophe. The Desolation Emperor is the strongest fighting force in the 3 regions and 9 realms. He is currently the only one who can resist the resurrected City Lord of the Tragic City. However, his whereabouts are strange and even I know very little about him. It is extremely difficult to communicate with him. If we can persuade him and make him realize the seriousness of the matter, it will be of great help to us." The Desolation Emperor. It was the strange fellow who had nurtured Mo Xiaolang, but had allowed Mo Xiaolang to stay in the Desolation Emperor domain for 500 years. You have a good relationship with the demon race's emperor, and your strength and status are also strong. You are qualified to talk to him, so this task can only be done by you. I hope you can complete it. If he can help us, our chances will be much higher, Great Emperor Zhenwu said. It was indeed too risky to go to the Eternal Hell alone. In this case, it was better to go to the Desolation Emperor domain and see what kind of existence the Desolation Emperor was. Since Mo Xiaolang was so obedient, it was better not to be tricked by this fellow. Even Great Emperor Zhenwu didn't know much about him, which meant that this fellow was really mysterious. If possible, there is no time to lose. Leave immediately, Great Emperor Zhenwu ordered. Long Chen nodded and said, "In that case, I will go to the Desolation Emperor Palace first. Emperor, wait for my news." Just like that, Long Chen left the 99th floor and returned to Lingxi's side. On the way, he played with the things Kitten had left for him for a while. No news yet. I guess the City Lord of the Tragic City hasn't made any further moves yet. Long Chen was a little worried about Kitten's safety. That fellow has the Void Dragon Talisman, so he should be fine. After telling Lingxi about his conversation with Great Emperor Zhenwu, Long Chen took her with him and asked for the route to the Desolation Emperor domain. After memorizing the location of the Desolation Emperor Palace, the two of them crossed the Cosmos Transportation Formation and headed toward the vast Desolation Emperor domain. This was the first Emperor domain of the 3 major Emperor domains. This was the world of the demon race. Millions of demon race members of all shapes and sizes flew in the sky and burrowed into the ground. This was a world of demon beasts. Long Chen and Lingxi crossed the Broken Star Sea and arrived on a new piece of land. In front of them was a vast expanse of barren mountains and wild forests. The cries of apes and tigers were endless. Chapter 1623. As its name suggested, the Desolate Emperor region was a barren wasteland. The Desolate Emperor region was located in the northwest of the 3 great Emperor regions. The land was barren, and ferocious beasts roamed about. However, the land was vast, and the demon race was generally tall and had low requirements for nature. Hence, it was a paradise for demon beasts. Moreover, even though it was barren, there was no shortage of treasures. It wasn't easy to get together with Lingxi, but they didn't have much time to be intimate. Along the way, they could only rely on hugs to feel each other's hearts. The great calamity was coming, and the common people were suffering. If they didn't resolve this matter, they wouldn't be able to obtain true peace. Lingxi was also very sensible. She never had any requirements. As long as she could stay with Long Chen, she had no regrets. According to the route, there is a relatively large demon tribe closest to here. It's a tribe of stone devourer rats. It's a tribe of 8th grade demon immortals. There aren't many of them, about 100,000 or so. The strongest among them is roughly at the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. It's the strongest tribe in the vicinity, and there's a cosmic teleportation array in this tribe that leads directly to the Desolate Emperor Palace. Using the cosmic teleportation array could save a lot of time. During this time, the 9 Hells fantasy butterfly that had disappeared for a long time returned to Lingxi's side. It rested comfortably on Lingxi's shoulder. "What's up with this little butterfly?" asked Long Chen. Lingxi shushed him, afraid to disturb the Nine Hells fantasy butterfly's rest. She said, "I think Goddess Su's blood attracted it to me. It's a little strange. I don't know how strong it is. Sometimes, it will suddenly launch a strong attack, but other times, it seems very weak. It often disappears, but it can always find me. Moreover, it's much more vague than me. So that's how it is. What a magical little creature. Perhaps it had a lot of little secrets on its body." Long Chen took the beautiful girl with him and quickly followed the route to the stone-devouring rat tribe. The stone-eater rat was a demonic beast that could devour all sorts of strange stones in the world to increase the hardness of its body. The majority of stone-eater rats had bodies as hard as steel and were very difficult to penetrate. Their defensive power was very shocking. Because they ate stones all year round, their bite force was also very strong, not something ordinary demonic beasts could compare to. The reason why the stone-devouring rat was able to occupy the Cosmos Transfer Array leading to the desolate Emperor Palace was because it was the overlord within 1,000 miles. In front of them was a wilderness made up of huge piles of rocks. There were hills and low mountains everywhere. This was the territory of the stone-eater rats. In fact, both the human clan and the demon clan were quite xenophobic. If a demon clan member appeared in the human clan's territory, they would be treated specially. If a human clan member appeared in the demon clan's territory, it would be the same. Of course, Long Chen wasn't here to cause trouble. When they got close, the stone-eater rats discovered him. Long Chen saw the ground in front of him shake. Gravel flew everywhere, and the ground suddenly burst open. About a dozen stone-eater rats were more than 30 meters long. They had no hair on their bodies, but they had rock-hard skin. The stone-eater rat's eyes were very small, and they looked like two mung beans on its body. However, its incisors were very large and sharp. After being honed for hundreds and thousands of years, they had become the sharpest weapons in existence. They moved very quickly, and it didn't take long for them to surround Long Chen. The dozen stone-eater rats got into an attacking stance. One of the sturdy stone-eater rats said in a low and rough voice, "Human clan, why have you come to the demon clan's territory? Hurry up and confess, or we won't let you move around in the demon clan's territory so easily." These fellows were all 7th or 8th grade demonic immortals. They weren't considered weak among the demonic beasts, so they probably had some knowledge. Long Chen said directly, "I'm the Martial Imperial Emperor of the true Martial Imperial Palace. I'm going to the desolate Imperial Palace to pay a visit to the desolate Imperial Emperor. My name is Long Chen." Hearing Long Chen's serious answer, they immediately laughed. Long Chen was stunned. Didn't he look like a martial saint emperor? To his surprise, they said, "Martial saint emperor? What's that? Who is Long Chen? Can someone like you see the martial saint emperor? Look, in the entire desolate emperor realm, there are only a few people who are lucky enough to see an emperor. Moreover, they are all high and mighty figures." He didn't expect the desolate emperor realm to be so ill-informed that they hadn't even heard of his name. This time he was here to visit. There was no point in getting into a conflict with such a small character. Long Chen said, "This is a serious matter. I would like to borrow your cosmic transportation array. Let me see your patriarch first. I am quite famous in the true Martial Emperor Palace. I believe your patriarch will recognize me." Hearing this, the dozen or so stone-biter rats laughed again. Brothers, teach him a lesson. Not only did they not believe Long Chen, but they also wanted to tease him. "You don't know what's good for you." There was no time to waste on such small characters. Long Chen summoned a golden demon suppressing column and swept it across, sweeping all the stone-eater rats onto their backs. Under Long Chen's sweeping, they all lined up in a row. Long Chen pressed the golden demon suppressing column on them. The huge weight made them wretched and unable to move. "I said, I want to see your patriarch," Long Chen said. All right. We'll bring him now." The stone-eater rats were frightened by Long Chen. Could he really be an expert from the true Martial Emperor Palace? The dozen or so demons had taken human form. They all had sharp mouths and long fangs, and they still retained the characteristics of the stone-eater rats. Following them, Long Chen entered the stone-eater rat tribe. There were quite a few stone-eater rats that were currently active. Some were humanoid, while others were beast-shaped. There were infants and elders, and they were all very happy. It was a joyous and harmonious scene. Long Chen thought of the disaster in the Supreme Shadow Devil World and the Eastern Royal Region. As expected, with the Desolation Great Emperor in the Desolation Imperial Region, the Lord of the Wronged probably wouldn't dare to come here and cause trouble. The arrival of Long Chen and Lingxi immediately attracted their attention. At this moment, someone had already gone to report to the Patriarch. Before Long Chen could go deep into the tribe, a thin but long-bearded elder shot over from the sky. He looked down at Long Chen and asked, "You are the sacred martial emperor of the true martial emperor palace, Long Chen? The one who wreaked havoc in the sword spirit emperor palace? What evidence do you have?" It seemed like he finally met someone who knew what was good for him. Evidence? Long Chen asked, "Does the golden demon suppressing column count as evidence?" As he spoke, Long Chen took out the golden demon suppressing column filled with the power of the divine dragon and pressed it against the ground of the Stone-Eater Rat tribe. Instantly, the ground almost sank. Seeing the golden demon suppressing column, the Stone-Eater Rat Patriarch was horrified. At first, he thought it was just a scammer. With his Nirvana Tribulation Realm strength, he could naturally see that the golden demon suppressing column was real. That sacred martial emperor really came. He didn't complete his goal today. Third place on the ranking list, not far from second place. There was still hope for him to make it back to first place within this week. The ranking list exploded today. There were already 50,000 people on it, and the first place was only around 60,000. This was the highest number in history. Regardless of success or failure, as long as we tried our best, that's enough. I sincerely thank all the brothers who contributed to this data. Chapter 1624. Long Chen had defeated the 4 sword masters in the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace and shocked the world. News spread slowly in the Desolation Emperor region, but as the chief of a tribe, he more or less knew about it. At first, he just couldn't believe that such a person would come to his tribe at the border. When he found out that it was Long Chen, his expression instantly became extremely respectful, and he hurriedly said a bunch of flattering words, praising Lingxi's beauty and so on. Long Chen interrupted him and said, "I'm sorry, I have urgent matters to attend to, and I would like to borrow the universe transfer formation." No problem at all. The Stone-Eater Rat chief grinned. Following him, Long Chen finally found the Chenkuan transfer formation in the huge Stone-Eater Rat tribe. "Emperor Shangwu, rumor has it that you and our emperor's disciple are sworn brothers. Is that true?" The Stone-Eater Rat chief asked curiously. "Of course it's true," Long Chen replied. "Oh, I see." He chuckled and didn't say anything else. After bidding farewell to the Stone-Eater Rat chief, Long Chen stepped into the Chenkuan transfer formation and headed straight for the Desolation Emperor Palace. He would only need to travel for 2 to 3 days to reach the Desolation Emperor Palace. This was Long Chen's destination. The Desolate Emperor Palace was slightly different from the other 2 Emperor Palaces. The true Martial Emperor Palace had a huge Emperor Star that was hidden in a small cosmos world, while the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace had the Heavenly Sword Soul Mountain. However, the Desolate Emperor Palace was built on the Dragon Sacrificial Continent. However, because of this, the Desolation Emperor Palace was the largest city in the 3 regions and 9 realms. Compared to the 9-star chaos cities like North Star City, it was 100 times bigger. There were nearly 150 million Desolation Emperor Palace disciples living in the Desolation Emperor Palace. The Fiend Race disciples would often reveal their true forms in battle. The Fiend Race's true forms were usually very big, which was why the Desolation Emperor Palace was so big. The Desolation Emperor Palace had existed for a very long time. Both the true Martial Emperor Palace and the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace had gone through several major twists and turns, but the Desolation Emperor Palace was different. He had always stood tall and firm. When Long Chen saw the huge and boundless ancient city in front of him, the mottled and huge city walls, which were shockingly sturdy, had been polished by the sun, moon, wind and rain, revealing their iron bones. They were filled with a vast aura of desolation. This was a city with no end in sight. Desolate Emperor Palace. Although it was simple and unadorned, the Desolate Emperor Palace was much grander than the other 2 Emperor Palaces. The city walls were over 100 meters tall and pierced through the clouds. The city walls were filled with guards. Outside the Desolate Imperial Palace, there were hundreds of yin and yang transportation formations from the Desolate Imperial Domain. Anyone who came out of these yin and yang transportation formations would be subjected to the most stringent interrogation. It was the same for Long Chen and Lingxi. Because they were humans, They instantly attracted the attention of a large number of demonic beast warriors. In an instant, the demonic beast warriors in human form surrounded Long Chen one by one. They split into a small team of about 200 people and started monitoring Long Chen. After all, this was the desolate Imperial Palace's territory, and they couldn't allow humans with ulterior motives to sneak in. Report your identity and purpose of visit. A burly middle-aged man walked forward. He had the vague appearance of a bear, so he must be a demonic bear. Bear-type demonic beasts usually had a fiery temper. Long Chen was a person of status, and he couldn't let others think he was a sneaky person. Therefore, he took out the golden demon imprisonment column. The column, which was over 100 meters tall, shone brightly under the sunlight. A golden five-clawed dragon coiled under the golden demon imprisonment column. I believe everyone recognizes this item. That's right, this is the golden demon imprisonment column. I am the sacred martial emperor of the true martial emperor palace. Today, I am here to visit the 6 demonic beast emperors. I hope you can inform them of my arrival. The golden demon imprisonment column instantly attracted everyone's attention. Long Chen. This was the guy who defeated the 4 sword masters in the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace? The demonic beasts were momentarily stunned. You must be an imposter. Suddenly, an extremely arrogant shout came from above the city walls. A young man in a long yellow robe appeared. It was Zhong Yu, the young Kuan Peng who lost to Mo Xiaolang in the Eternal Hell. At this moment, he jumped down from the 100-meter-tall city wall and landed in front of Long Chen. He was about to expose the imposter Long Chen, but he didn't expect to really meet Long Chen. In the Eternal Hell, he didn't take Long Chen seriously at all. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang had created pinnacle miracles, but he was still making no progress. It could be said that the people he envied the most in his life were Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang. However, the current Long Chen had far surpassed him. Zhong Yu's expression changed for a moment, and he finally gritted his teeth and said, "May I ask the sacred martial emperor, why have you come to my desolate imperial palace?" Previously, he had called him an imposter. He didn't expect that after seeing the real person, he would immediately change his words. This was enough to prove that Long Chen was the real sacred martial emperor. Almost all the disciples of the desolate imperial palace knew about the glorious feat of defeating the 4 sword masters. Although Long Chen wasn't a member of the desolate imperial palace, they still deeply respected Long Chen. I said that I have an urgent matter to look for the 6 demonic emperors and Xiao Lang. Since you are here, please lead the way, said Long Chen. This is my duty. Zhong Yu guessed that he was punished to guard the gate because his cultivation wasn't good enough. From now on, he wouldn't have to go through the trouble of proving his identity anymore. Long Chen was very relieved. The desolate imperial palace was huge. As long as Zhong Yu pointed in a direction, Long Chen could bring Zhong Yu forward at a terrifying speed. Even the messenger wouldn't be as fast as Long Chen. Otherwise, with Zhong Yu's speed, it would probably take a few days to reach the central beast god palace of the desolate imperial palace. The 6 demonic emperors were naturally in the beast god palace. Long Chen arrived at the beast god palace first. The news of his arrival slowly spread throughout the entire desolate imperial palace. To the desolate imperial palace, this was important news. After the incident at the Sword Spirit Imperial Palace, they were very curious about this martial emperor's sworn brother. Of course, there were also many who weren't convinced. In any case, when Long Chen arrived at the Beast God Palace, the 6 demonic emperors all came out to welcome Long Chen with the greatest courtesy. Now that Long Chen's status was different, the treatment he received was also different. After some small talk, most of the others had left. Only Long Chen, Lingxi, and the 6 demonic emperors were left. Long Chen went straight to the point. Because Mo Xiaolang hadn't appeared yet, he was a little puzzled. Logically speaking, if Mo Xiaolang knew he was here, he would definitely appear immediately. Chapter 1625. As soon as this question was brought up, the other parties' faces showed that they were in a dilemma. Perhaps they had already guessed that Long Chen would ask this question when he suddenly came. The 6 demonic emperors looked at each other, which made Long Chen and Lingxi suspicious. The Desolation Emperor had asked Mo Xiaolang to stay in the Desolation Emperor's domain for 500 years. As long as he didn't leave the Desolation Emperor's domain, it wouldn't count as breaking the promise. But where was Mo Xiaolang now? It had only been a few days. Long Chen's eyes gradually turned cold. Finally, the devouring moon monstrous emperor, who had the best relationship with Mo Xiaolang, said, "Only the Emperor Lord knows about the Emperor's son. He probably sent him into seclusion. The Emperor Lord absolutely forbade us from disturbing him, so I'm afraid you won't be able to see him today." This answer was passable. Long Chen remembered that Mo Xiaolang had said that the Desolation Emperor wanted him to go back to seclusion. Was the Desolation Emperor really good to Mo Xiaolang? Even Long Chen couldn't be sure. From Xiaolang's appearance, he was indeed very grateful to the Desolation Emperor. Long Chen's more important mission this time was to discuss the matter of the Lord of the Wronged with the Desolation Emperor. He couldn't get an answer about Mo Xiaolang for now, so he could postpone it. If he could meet the Desolation Emperor, he could test the other party's tone. Long Chen thought that with his identity and the verbal order of the true martial emperor, the Desolation Emperor couldn't refuse to meet him, right? Therefore, he changed the subject from Mo Xiaolang and said, "Everyone, the truth is that I'm here on the orders of the true martial emperor Palace's emperor to discuss with the Desolation Emperor how to deal with the calamity of the Lord of the Wronged City. I'm afraid I'll have to discuss this with the Desolation Emperor personally." After Long Chen made this request, they looked even more troubled. Of course, if Long Chen didn't have a high status and strength, they wouldn't have made things difficult for him. The devouring moon monarch said, "We can't figure out our emperor's whereabouts and mood. I can only inform him. If he doesn't want to see you, there's nothing we can do." Long Chen was stunned. He didn't expect the Desolation Great Emperor to be so arrogant. No wonder the true martial emperor said that this guy was not easy to get along with and was mysterious. The dignified holy martial emperor had come especially for him. If they wanted to see him, they had to get his permission and might even be rejected. The devouring moon demon emperor retreated first, and Long Chen chatted with them about other things. The other party was interested in the matters of the Eastern Emperor region, so Long Chen told them about the tragedy that had happened in the Eastern Emperor region. He didn't want to talk about Lingxi first. He said, "You didn't experience that personally, so you definitely don't know how tragic it was. There are more demons in the Desolation Emperor domain. If the Lord of the Wronged City reaches here one day." At this point, the devouring moon monarch returned. Seeing his distressed face, Long Chen had a premonition that this matter was over. The devouring moon monarch said, "The emperor replied that the holy martial emperor should go back." Go back? Was he chasing him away? Long Chen originally had a good impression of the Desolation Great Emperor. After all, he had truly helped Xiaolang. However, when he came specially, the Desolation Great Emperor asked him to leave. This was too much. Besides, Long Chen didn't want anything from him. He just wanted to discuss the matter of the Lord of the Wronged City. No wonder the Zhenwu Great Emperor wanted him to come see him. Long Chen wasn't someone who would be defeated so easily. Since the Desolation Great Emperor didn't want to interfere, it was even better. He changed his tone and said, "The six of you, you heard what our emperor said that day at the Sword God Palace. The disaster in the Eastern Imperial domain is just the beginning. Now, the 2 imperial palaces and the 9 realms have joined forces. All we need is the Desolation Emperor Palace's response. That's why I came here personally to ask for your opinion." Hearing this question, the 6 demonic emperors consulted each other. In the end, the devouring moon monarch said, "Our emperor instructed us to do this. He said that the Lord of the Wronged hates the human race and has nothing to do with the demon race. Therefore, we don't need to get involved in this matter." Long Chen was stunned. To be honest, he was annoyed to receive such an answer when he spoke so calmly. However, the fate of the world was in his hands, and he knew that he couldn't take it lightly. He said, "Everyone, if this is what the Desolation Great Emperor is thinking, then I can only say that he is too short-sighted and overconfident. I'm sure you all understand this. If the 2 imperial regions and the 9 worlds become a place where ghosts run rampant, all life will perish, and the city Lord of the Wronged will control everything, using the power of the living to create millions of experts. At that time, will there still be a place for the Desolation Imperial region? I think the flesh of the demon race is the most delicious food for those ghosts." Long Chen's analysis made everyone shut their mouths. At this time, one of the demonic emperors said, "To tell the truth, we are also worried. We are willing to join forces with you and contribute our strength, but the emperor's opinion is different from ours. We can only listen to the emperor's opinion." If he says we won't join forces, we naturally have to follow his orders. The root of all this was the Desolation Great Emperor. Was the Desolation Great Emperor so confident that he could resist the city lord of the wronged? When the 2 imperial domains and the 9 realms were destroyed, could he still resist? Long Chen had to say, the city lord of the wronged is from the eternal god domain. He has endless methods, and no one can match his terror. Furthermore, his most powerful technique is the curse, a curse that can turn millions or even tens of millions of civilians into ghosts in an instant. They are in the dark while we are out in the open. No matter how strong the Desolation Emperor is, he can't protect billions of demon race citizens by himself, right? Things had come to this point. Long Chen had already stood up in agitation. He was a man with a temper. After saying all the good things, his voice turned cold. Today, I am sincerely asking for an alliance for the sake of all living beings in the world. If you really care about the demon race, you should have some ideas of your own. At the very least, you should know what the Desolation Great Emperor wants. Otherwise, when the final disaster comes, the 6 of you won't have the chance to regret it. Also, let me tell you a piece of news. At this point, Long Chen told them about Lingxi's ability to purify the curse. The 4 million people in the Eastern Royal Domain had regained their lives thanks to Lingxi's efforts. After listening to this, the 6 demonic emperors were finally moved. Kuanping Demonic Emperor nodded. In fact, we know the severity of the situation, but we really don't understand the Emperor's intentions. Why don't you stay in the Beast God Palace for a few days, and we will discuss it with the Emperor before telling you the final result. Thank you for your efforts. It had returned to 2nd place on the list. Chapter 1626. Long Chen's heart was filled with resentment. Perhaps it would be better if he could calm down for a while. He had just arrived and was not familiar with the affairs of the desolate Imperial Palace. Now that Xiao Lang was nowhere to be found, he really needed to calm down and find a safe way to resolve the crisis in front of him. After all, he was facing an existence like the Desolate Emperor. Under the arrangements of the 6 demonic emperors, Long Chen and Lingxi temporarily stayed in the Beast God Palace, while the 6 demonic emperors went to discuss the alliance with the Desolate Emperor. Standing by the window, Long Chen carefully thought about today's events. He murmured. Today's events were mainly caused by the Desolate Emperor. He was the one who made Xiao Lang disappear. He was also the one who was arrogant and refused to cooperate. Even the Emperor doesn't know this guy. What kind of existence is he? Lingxi had witnessed today's events. With her woman's intuition, she said, I have a feeling that the Desolate Emperor is not a good person. Perhaps that's the case. I think he has enmity towards you. After all, it wasn't easy for him to raise an imperial prince, but Little Wolf trusts you more than him. Moreover, the people of the desolate imperial region have always thought highly of themselves, yet their imperial prince calls you big brother and follows you. Clearly, the desolate imperial emperor hates you because of this. Lingxi's words enlightened Long Chen. It seemed that this was the case. Moreover, the desolate emperor knew that he would come, so he hid Mo Xiaolang? Then, where did he hide Mo Xiaolang? Would he be in danger? These were all problems that Long Chen had to consider. Right now he had great strength, but as long as there was someone in the desolate imperial domain who could suppress him, he couldn't act recklessly. Moreover, the desolate imperial palace was a powerful force. Unless it was an irreconcilable situation, he definitely couldn't mess things up. This was also what the Zhenwu Emperor had instructed him to do. After a day, Long Chen had gained nothing. That afternoon, just as he was getting a little anxious, someone suddenly came. It was Xueqi. Xueqi followed Mo Xiaolang to the desolate imperial domain. The 2 of them had always depended on each other. Mo Xiaolang was an imperial prince, and although Xueqi was still weak, her status in the Beast God Palace was still very high. Big brother Long Chen. Xueqi ran over cheerfully, but when she saw Lingxi beside her, she naturally restrained herself. She knew that this was the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace's Lingxi that Long Chen had been pursuing. Therefore, after arriving here, she obediently called out, Sister Lingxi. Ever since they had parted ways in 9-Star Chaos City, they had not met again. Xueqi had grown up a little, and her strength had also increased. However, after arriving here, there was a trace of worry on her face. Long Chen brought her into the room. I only heard about your arrival today, so I immediately sneaked over. Xueqi panted nervously. Under normal circumstances, she would not have had to be like this. Long Chen asked, "You came here in a hurry. Did the wolf cub tell you something?" Soyan nodded heavily and said, "Yes, big brother Xiaolang came back a few days ago and went to see the emperor. Then, he secretly told me that the emperor was forcing him to enter the ancient demon domain. He couldn't come out for 500 years, but big brother Coyote said that he had important things to do with you, so he couldn't stay in there for 500 years. But this time, the celestial emperor forced him to go in there, and big brother Coyote couldn't resist." At this point, Soyan's tears fell. She sobbed and continued, "Big brother Xiaolang knew that you would come to find him. He said that the emperor could not leave that mirror unless he had no other choice. If possible, he wanted to fight alongside you in the disaster of the city lord of the wronged. He was brought into the ancient demon domain by the 6 demonic emperors together. He could not defeat the 6 of them alone, and they were all people that he owed a debt of gratitude to. Therefore, he hoped that you could bring him out." Long Chen clenched his fist. So this was the truth. His gaze was cold as he looked at the palace outside the window. He knew that the wolf cub would not easily ask him to do anything for it. This time, the wolf cub was eager to fight side by side with him. It did not want to stay in the ancient demon domain for 500 years. Who knew what would happen after 500 years? Would the 3 great emperor domains be destroyed? If it hadn't been destroyed, Long Chen would have gone to the eternal god domain by now. At that time, how would he be able to find his brother? Big brother Little Wolf said that with his talent, there was no need for him to stay in the ancient demon domain for such a long time. 500 years was really too long, but the Emperor Lord insisted on such a request, which puzzled him. He has already been escorted in. Long Chen did not lose his cool. He asked, "Is Xiaolang saying that the Desolation Emperor will not leave the mirror until the last moment?" "Yes." He also said that as long as you do not leave the mirror, there is nothing he can do to you. With your strength, you can do whatever you want in the Desolation Emperor domain as long as you do not go overboard and anger him. Long Chen had a rough idea of what to do. Mo Xiaolang had almost told him all the details. Most importantly, what was the ancient demon domain? Long Chen asked Xueqi this question. Xueqi had read through the information and could recite it now. She said, "This is a small cosmos world set up by the ancestors of my demon race. There are all kinds of training methods inside. Usually, only martial artists of noble status are qualified to enter. Those training methods were set up by the ancestors and are said to be very terrifying. Even the 6 great demon emperors have to be careful when they enter. And the Emperor Lord locked Big Brother Coyote in the most difficult area to leave. Big Brother Coyote said that he had asked a lot of people, and only a power that surpassed the late stage of the 4th stage of Nirvana Tribulation could break out. Strength that surpassed late stage Nirvana Tribulation. Other than the Emperor, probably only Long Chen or the Demon Dragon Palace Master could be counted as one. What Little Wolf meant was for Long Chen to be a little more domineering and bring him out of the ancient demon domain. "Yen. Does Xiaolang have anything else to say?" Long Chen asked. "No, that's all," Soyan said softly. "Go back quietly. Don't let anyone see you crying like this. Tomorrow, I will take action. When the time comes, you just have to watch." Soyan nodded heavily. Her eyes lit up. "Thank you, Big Brother Long Chen and Big Sister Lingxi. I will leave first." The next day, Long Chen prepared the Golden Demon Imprisonment Column and went to the 6 great demon emperors. It seemed that not only would he defeat the 4 sword masters, but the 6 great demon emperors would also suffer after coming to the Desolation Emperor Palace. It was already 19 a.m. The last day was even earlier. Let's set it at 9 p.m. I will rest first. My fingers hurt. Chapter 16:27. Without Soyan's reminder, Long Chen would still be in the dark. On this day, before the 6 demonic emperors could give Long Chen an answer, Long Chen came to visit them personally. This was an urgent time, and the 6 demonic emperors were all in the Beast God Palace. Hearing that Long Chen had come to see them again, they had a bad feeling. As soon as Long Chen entered the hall, he asked, "The 6 of you, is there any result regarding the matter we discussed with the Desolation Emperor?" One of the demonic emperors answered, "We are trying our best to negotiate with the emperor. For now, the emperor still insists on his own ideas. Long Chen, why don't you go back to the true martial emperor palace first, and we can work together. For now, We can only wait for the emperor to change his mind. As the sacred martial emperor, I don't think it's very appropriate for you to waste your time here, right? Long Chen sneered in his heart, but he pretended that he didn't know anything. He said, "Don't worry, I don't have anything to do at the moment. I can wait here for 10 days to half a month. You can tell the Desolation Emperor that if he doesn't want to see me, I might go see him one day." Mo Xiaolang revealed that if the Desolation Emperor didn't leave the mirror, he couldn't do anything to Long Chen. His situation was probably similar to the true martial emperors. Hearing Long Chen's obviously arrogant words, the demonic emperors frowned. Long Chen chuckled and finally said what was on his mind. "Everyone, since I can't see the emperor, I can't come to the Desolation Emperor Palace for nothing. Can you take me somewhere?" The Devouring Moon demonic emperor was confused. "Sacred martial emperor, where do you want to go?" Long Chen answered, "I really want to go somewhere, and I need you to lead the way." "That is..." At this point, Long Chen paused for a moment. His tone became cold as he continued, "Ancient Demon Territory. I want to go to the Ancient Demon Territory. Please lead the way." The moment he said this, the 6 demonic emperors stood up from their seats. Their gazes gradually turned cold. The conflict between the two sides had already begun. Long Chen said, "Xiao Lang left a message for me. He doesn't want to stay in the Ancient Demon Territory at all, and this is a request from my brother. Since I, Long Chen, arrived in the desolate Imperial region, I've been quite courteous to all of you. However, this is the only matter that I have no room for discussion. He's rarely asked me for anything in his lifetime, and it might even be the only one. So, I hope that all of you can take me to the Ancient Demon Territory." Since Long Chen already knew about it, then they had nothing to hide. The rock demon monarch harumphed coldly. "Why are you so insensible, Imperial Prince? The Imperial Emperor gave him 500 years of good fortune, and he actually wants an outsider to take him away?" The Devouring Moon monarch directly said to Long Chen, "I'm sorry, Imperial Emperor Shangwu. The Ancient Demon Territory is a forbidden area established by my ancestors. Not to mention the human race. Even the demon race needs the permission of the Imperial Emperor before they can enter that place. As a human, it's even more impossible for you to go there. So please forgive me for not being able to comply." Long Chen asked Lingxi to lead the way. At this moment, a chilling aura was released from his body. Facing the coercion of the 6 demonic emperors, Long Chen's expression was cold. He stepped forward step by step, and every step he took on the ground was like stepping on everyone's hearts. "I, Long Chen, am willing to compromise on anything. I could concede anything except for the matter of the wolf pups. I couldn't make any concessions. The 6 of you, please think carefully. This is my personality. When I can consider the big picture, I will. But if you can't, then I will turn your desolate Emperor Palace upside down because of Xiao Lang's matter. Don't threaten me. I even dare to beat up the 4 great sword sovereigns. What's the difference between you and the 4 great sword sovereigns? What if we refuse?" One of the demonic emperors bellowed with a fiery temper. Long Chen sneered, "Then I'll beat the 6 of you until you die. Don't doubt my courage. Xiao Lang is my brother, and he has always treated me with sincerity. Today, he has a request. Even if it leads to an irreversible outcome, I will not give up. Although this is the Desolate Emperor Palace, and the Desolate Emperor is here, I, Long Chen, have never been afraid." His words caused the 6 demonic emperors to reveal a troubled expression. "Take me to the Ancient Demon Domain," Long Chen emphasized. To the 6 demonic emperors, without the Desolate Emperor's order, it was impossible. Therefore, they looked at each other and shouted in unison, "If that's the case, Sacred Martial Emperor, the 6 of us have no choice but to offend you." They chose to fight. In fact, Long Chen was only challenging them. The real decision lay in the Desolate Emperor's hands. But if he beat them all down, the strange Desolate Emperor, who could only hide in the mirror, would probably reconsider his decision. Long Chen's aura collided with the 6 demonic emperors' auras in this narrow space. When the eyes of the 7 of them collided, a terrifying might spread out in all directions. The entire hall actually collapsed from the impact. The commotion in the Beast God Palace attracted the attention of most people. At that moment, 7 figures rushed into the sky. 6 of them gathered together, their battle aura surging. It was the 6 demonic emperors. The 6 demonic emperors were the pride and admiration of the 150 million disciples of the desolate emperor palace. They were the legends in their eyes, the ancestors. Who was the ancestor facing now? The figure of that young man moved all of their expressions. Wang! Without a word, Long Chen made his move. Under his control, a total of 50 golden demon imprisonment columns formed a prison around him, spinning wildly. Each golden demon imprisonment column had a 5-clawed golden dragon circling around it. Divine dragon roar. The might of the sacred martial emperor descended. Isn't that the sacred martial emperor from the true martial emperor palace? He's the martial emperor's sworn brother in the inheritance. He's even stronger than the martial emperor, the one who defeated the 4 great sword masters. Why is he fighting the 6 demonic emperors? Such a scene made the crowd go wild. Loud cheers and gasps of surprise spread from the beast god palace to the desolate emperor palace. More and more people looked up at the sky. In order to avoid hurting the people below, Long Chen kept his position high. When the desolate emperor palace had shrunk considerably, Long Chen used his will to combine the 50 golden demon imprisonment columns in his hand, forming a single golden demon imprisonment column of terrifying weight. The 6 demonic emperors exchanged glances, then spread out with a swoosh. 6 demonic emperors charged at Long Chen from 6 different directions. The battle was about to begin. When they made their move, the billions of disciples below were in an uproar. It was an honor to be attacked by 6 demonic emperors at once. But Long Chen didn't think so. He held the golden demon imprisonment column tightly and didn't move. When the fastest demonic emperor, the Xueqi demonic emperor, was in front of him, he flung the golden demon imprisonment column violently. 20 more. At the end of the last chapter, I said a few words. Actually, today's main goal was to get first place. I'm still in second place, but not far from first. I still have a good chance of getting first place. As long as everyone continues to support the original book. As long as it's read at 17K, the number of clicks will increase. As for the top, the rule is to compete on the number of new chapters today. But since others started it, I had to force myself to let everyone do it. What moved me was that many people actually topped more than 1,000 chapters. On the forum, in the book review section, I saw too much support. I can't thank you all one by one. I hope we can go the same way. Today, the Dragon's Blood's clicks will exceed 800,000. Today, the total number will exceed 100,000. These are shocking numbers from everyone in front of the computer. Fight with me. Although the top is important, I feel that it's a waste of everyone's time to always start from the top. Especially since there are so many students in Lunatics readers. This moved me but also made me feel guilty. So this kind of thing is enough. Today, my total number will exceed 100,000. I will remember this as a historic day. Starting tomorrow, I won't compete with others in total. I will only compete on the number of new chapters. As long as everyone remembers to top after reading the chapters, it will be fine. Same rules, if the first 5 chapters exceed 6,000, I will update on the second day. Tomorrow, I will adjust the plot and mentality to give everyone the best reading experience. Also today, the 5th and 6th guild leaders of Dragonblood God of War were born. They are Zhang Xuan and Jenny the Mad Lady. Thank you both for using your VIP tickets to support me. Today, the number of reading companions on the phone network has reached a new high. It will exceed 6,000. It's almost number 1 in Xuanhuan. Almost number 1 in the whole site. Thank you to the readers on the phone network. I saw your recommendation. It's 500 votes ahead of the second place. I don't know what to say anymore. It's a blessing to have fans. I have decided to work hard and challenge myself to my best state. I won't let down everyone's trust and support. I will use my 10 years of work to repay everyone's support. Sincerely. Chapter 1628. The noon update would be pushed back a little, and it would be posted before 3 p.m. I would try to finish writing as early as possible, then adjust and resume the normal daily update. 5 chapters today. 3,000 words per chapter. The explosive update rule was still the same as before. It was fine as long as the total number of chapters exceeded 6,000. There were more than 2,500 flowers. This matter was too unchallenging for everyone. Yesterday, it had already exceeded 100,000, and there were also 4,000 flowers. Chapter 1629. The battle in the sky instantly attracted the attention of all the disciples of the Desolation Emperor Palace. Although the Desolation Emperor Palace was huge, most of the martial artists could still see the battle with their own eyes. The three Emperor Palaces were secretly comparing themselves. Especially the younger generation. From the looks of it, Long Chen, as the martial saint emperor of the true martial emperor palace, was the strongest. He could even defeat the four great swordmasters by himself. So, could the six demonic emperors defeat him together? Although most of the demons admired Long Chen, in reality, they were more supportive of the six demonic emperors because of the glory of the Desolation Emperor Palace. The demons were generally wild and wild. At this moment, their earth-shattering roars soared into the sky. Tear him apart. Ancestors, hurry up and finish him. The Desolation Emperor Palace is invincible. The six demonic emperors are unparalleled. The six demonic emperors occupied 6 different positions and launched the most careful and fierce attack on Long Chen. The Xueqi demonic emperor was proficient in the Tao of water and wind, so he was the fastest. He arrived before Long Chen in an instant. Young emperor, we are doing this for your own good. If you really want to cause trouble, we won't be polite. We demons are stronger than martial artists of the same level. The power of the 6 demonic emperors is not something you can resist. There were also some demon thearchs that possessed 8 Tao patterns Tao artifacts. After reaching the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, demon beasts also had the power of Nirvana. When they used the ancient Tao artifacts, they weren't any weaker than the human race. Among the 6 demonic emperors, Devouring Moon and Xueqi Long Chen were the most familiar with. As for the other 4 demonic emperors, one of them was Silver Firmament. He was a tall, skinny man with silver skin. His true form seemed to be a silver firmament centipede. He was the strongest leader of the insect race, which was a member of the demon race. The most burly man with the fiercest eyes was Gold. He was the golden ape ancestor. There was also a sinister man with a demonic aura. He was the 9-headed snake demon. The last one looked rather simple and honest. Its entire body was filled with an earth attribute aura, and it was like a mountain. This was the demonic beast mountain tortoise. Just like the Xueqi, it also had an extremely rare bloodline. In reality, the 6 demonic emperors came from millions of races of the demon race, and all of them had rare bloodlines. As long as they truly matured, they would be able to obtain extremely strong combat power. 6 giant desolate beasts launched a fierce attack on Long Chen. The rock demon monarch was the first to descend and unleash the storm of Nirvana. Innate Taoist art. Violent tornado. The golden-winged rock was the king of speed among birds. It moved as fast as lightning, and its Tao technique was natural. As it casually exerted its power, the green Nirvana force formed a violent tornado that charged towards Long Chen. For a moment, the space trembled, and the green gale was like a divine dragon. This was just the beginning. When the Xueqi demon sovereign attacked, the other demon sovereigns had already closed in. The black-robed moon-devouring demon emperor rushed to the sky above Long Chen. Behind him, a faintly discernible black demonic wolf formed a huge shadow. Innate Taoist arts. Black Forbidden Zone. This was a type of sealing mystique. Under the devouring moon's execution, everything within a radius of 10 miles was shrouded in black. It was a bit like the darkness rising formation that Li Xuanji used in the past, but much more powerful. In this black forbidden zone, countless black, needle-like hairs were extremely hard, blocking every retreat route for Long Chen. In terms of individual combat, the 6 demonic emperors knew that they were far from being a match for Long Chen. They could only cooperate and attack ferociously in order to defeat Long Chen. On the one hand, it could consolidate the prestige of the desolate imperial palace, and on the other hand, it could make Long Chen give up and cause less trouble. Under the black forbidden zone, the violent tornado struck violently. Under the double attack, Long Chen was in grave danger. Sacred Martial Imperial Emperor, it's over. Such a terrifying might shocked everyone below. As expected of the demonic sovereign old ancestor. Just a casual combination of attacks was enough to put Long Chen in a hopeless situation. But facing such an attack, Long Chen let out a cold laugh. His arm wasn't thick, but it had the most terrifying strength in the world. He held the golden demon imprisonment column tightly, with 55 clawed golden dragons coiled around it, and golden lightning burst out. A casual swing of the golden demon imprisonment column by Long Chen could cause space to tremble. My brother Long Chen is not someone you can control, even in your desolate imperial palace. With a stern look and a roar, the golden demon imprisonment column in his hand let out the most terrifying roar. As Long Chen waved it, the tail of the golden demon imprisonment column instantly reached 1,000 meters away. Its huge golden body was covered with golden divine dragon scales, and golden lightning shot out. Under Long Chen's swing, the 1,000-meter-long golden demon imprisonment column was waved. When the violent tornado swept over, it whipped up with the force of wind and thunder. The Kuanping demonic emperor's Khanate Dao technique faced the most violent collision, and in that instant, it was shattered. Similarly, the devouring moon demonic emperor's black forbidden zone was also shattered. With one strike, the violent tornado dissipated, and the black forbidden zone exploded. The dazzling sun and light once again appeared between heaven and earth. In the sky, Long Chen, holding the golden demon imprisonment column, looked like a god. The 6 demonic emperors' expressions changed in an instant, but they continued to grit their teeth. At this moment, all 6 of them rushed forward, attacking together. They didn't believe that the 6 demonic emperors couldn't even take down a single Long Chen. How strong was this Long Chen? Mere demonic emperors in human form, and you think you can defeat me with a coordinated attack? Long Chen's maniacal smile moved everyone in the desolate imperial palace. Golden demon slaying design. At this moment, the golden demon imprisonment column carried a battle technique. With the sealing power of the golden demon imprisonment column, Long Chen used his nirvana power that was close to the late stage of the 4th tier of the nirvana tribulation realm. The golden demon imprisonment column was an ancient Dao treasure with 8 Dao patterns, and its most famous ability was sealing. The golden demon slaying design actually imprisoned all 6 demonic emperors in an instant. At this moment, Long Chen's blood boiled. Under his power, the golden demon imprisonment column shook the heavens and earth. The 1,000-meter-long golden demon imprisonment column slammed violently into each of the demonic emperors, sending them flying. Boom, 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 boom. 6 explosions and 6 blood-curdling screams rang out almost at the same time. Under the bombardment of the golden demon imprisonment column, all 6 demonic emperors were sent flying. Instantly, blood splattered everywhere. Everyone in the desolate imperial palace was in disbelief when they saw this shocking scene. The 6 demonic emperors were defeated? Long Chen had sent all 6 demonic emperors flying with one move? Where was the dignity of the desolate imperial palace? In an instant, all the disciples of the desolate imperial palace felt humiliated. At the same time, they were in awe of Long Chen's strength and felt powerless. A genius of this level was not someone they could catch up to no matter what. Of course, the 6 demonic emperors had not displayed their true combat power. They had just not wanted to fight to the death with Long Chen. Now that Long Chen was unbridled, their bottom line had been touched, and all of them went berserk. Ferocious looks appeared on all their faces. The ferocity and cruelty of the demon race, the most primitive bestiality, were reflected on their faces. Holy Martial Emperor! Since you're so arrogant, we don't have to hold back. You've already planned to attack the 6 demonic emperors, haven't you? Very well, we'll keep you company today. We want to see whether you or the 6 demonic emperors are stronger. The strongest form of the demon race is not our human form. In human form, we can't even use 1/3 of our strength. Since you're prepared to fight to the death, we don't need to be polite with you. Holy Martial Emperor! If the war between the desolate Imperial Palace and the true Martial Imperial Palace starts, the responsibility lies with you. The 6 demonic emperors gathered together angrily and started talking at once. All the demons in the desolate Imperial Palace felt their blood boil with anger. They wanted nothing more than to rush up and kill Long Chen. The dignity of the First Imperial Palace had been unscrupulously challenged by Long Chen. Long Chen wasn't intimidated by the angry demonic emperors. He put away the golden demon suppressing column and looked around at the crowd. He looked down at the 100 million disciples of the desolate Imperial Palace and said slowly, "Everyone, I, Long Chen, have no intention of provoking the desolate Imperial Palace today. I don't represent the true Martial Imperial Palace either. I only represent myself. Your Emperor's son, my brother, Mo Xiaolang, is more important to me than you can imagine. As long as I'm here, no one in this world can force him to do anything he doesn't want to do. Let me tell you, If you don't let me bring Xiao Lang out of the ancient demon domain today, I'll make your desolate imperial palace a mess. 6 demonic emperors, if you want to fight, come at me. Since words can't decide the winner, let's see who's stronger. Long Chen's words were ruthless. Today, it was impossible for him to take a step back, unless his opponent defeated him. But, was that possible? Hearing Long Chen's words, the 6 demonic emperors looked at each other. Their eyes were burning with anger. Brothers! This battle concerns the reputation of the desolate imperial palace. We're not the 4 sword masters of the Sword Spirit Imperial Palace. We can't lose in front of 100 million disciples. Although it's not a life and death feud, they've already trampled on our dignity. For our dignity, we won't rest until we die. Yes, we won't rest until we die. The 6 demonic emperors' auras converged, displaying a shocking divine might. The barbaric nature of the ancient beasts was on full display. The 6 demonic emperors dispersed. At this moment, in the east, a golden rock with a wingspan of more than 2,000 meters soared into the sky, engulfing the heavens and earth in its own storm. In the west, a black, muscular demonic wolf with a black crescent symbol on its forehead was extremely strange. This demonic wolf was similar in size to Mo Xiaolang, but it wasn't the sun-devouring demonic wolf. P.S. Today's 5 updates, the total peak is over 6,000. More updates tomorrow. Everyone, don't forget the top and the fresh flowers. Chapter 16:30. In the south, a 3,000-meter-long silver centipede appeared. It swam through the clouds with an astonishing aura. Its body was shrouded in a silver mist, and there were definitely more than 10,000 centipede legs growing out of its body. They were all like sharp spears, causing people to tremble in fear. In the north, a 2,000-meter-tall golden ape king appeared. Its entire body was covered in a violent aura. Its heavy breathing, and the densely packed golden patterns on its body, were all shocking. Its ferocious expression shocked everyone below. Above Long Chen, a huge 9-headed snake appeared. Its body was more than 3,000 meters long, and it was shrouded in a black poisonous mist. Its 9 huge heads flicked their tongues, staring at Long Chen like a tiger watching its prey. And below Long Chen was a huge earthy yellow mountain tortoise. This tortoise was huge, and its body was the largest among the 6 demonic emperors. On its back was a real yellow mountain peak. The mountain peak was extremely hard, and could be called the heaviest weapon in the world. Its weight was definitely several times that of Long Chen's golden demon imprisonment column. This was the true form of the 6 demonic emperors. These 6 enormous beasts made all the disciples of the desolate emperor palace kneel on the ground, worshipping them. The moon-devouring demon wolf galloped behind Long Chen. At this moment, there was nothing left to discuss. The only thing left was to fight. Dragon warrior, show me your mystical dragon true form. We want you to fight fair and square. We don't want to take advantage of you. Those 6 terrifying desolate beasts had already caused Long Chen's blood to boil. This was a true battle of the same level. Long Chen's entire body was in a state of burning passion. His slaughter ancestral dragon genes were completely released at this moment. Fighting with the 4 great sword masters was meaningless. The ancestral dragon's physical body advantage couldn't be displayed. But the 6 opponents in front of him could. 6 giant beasts were charging towards them from the vast sky battlefield. The centipede's silver firmament came on the clouds. The golden ape ancestor attacked violently. The moon-devouring demon wolf was like a ghost. The golden rock was extraordinarily fast. The 9-headed snake was mysterious and strange, and its body was covered in poisonous mist. The enormous great tortoise had a thick and heavy body, possessing the greatest power. In order not to affect the people below, they had no choice but to rise into the sky again. Just as they were about to attack, Long Chen let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. The moment the voice rang out, the 6 demonic emperors were forced to stop what they were doing. Dragon transformation, this is what you requested. Long Chen let out an earth-shattering laugh. Under the shocked gazes of countless people, his body emitted a blood-red mist. In an instant, it filled the air and formed a huge blood-red cloud. In an instant, it expanded to an area of tens of thousands of meters. At this moment, a shocking aura was released. All the disciples of the desolate Emperor Palace were in a state of extreme shock. In their eyes, There was a gigantic blood-colored beast that was more than 10,000 meters long, rolling in the endless blood-colored clouds in the sky. The bloody aura, the murderous aura, and the layers of strange aura on the beast were a terrifying pressure for all the members of the demon tribe. This was the pressure of a superior being. Even the 6 demonic emperors were shocked. At this moment, an incomparably huge dragon head, filled with the color of blood, poked its head out from the blood-red clouds. When the disciples of the desolate Emperor Palace saw the huge dragon head, they all fell to the ground. This is a mystical dragon. What a terrifying mystical dragon. Why am I so afraid? The entire desolate Emperor Palace was enveloped in Long Chen's godly aura. The huge mystical dragon rolled in the clouds. Even the largest great tortoise didn't seem huge in front of him. Come on. Let's fight. Beasts. The mystical dragon's voice reverberated through the blood-colored clouds. The 6 demonic emperors recovered from their momentary shock and finally reacted. Brothers, we'll fight to the death. The 6 demonic emperors' ferocity was awakened. Long Chen felt the boundless power of his huge body, and the most primitive violence in his body was unleashed. His 10,000-meter body was the most agile of all the beasts in the sky. In an instant, he could move 100,000 meters. At this moment, while the 6 demonic emperors were attacking, Long Chen's blood-colored dragon body soared into the clouds. The 9-headed snake demon was shocked. The 9 huge heads were spitting out black mist in a frenzy towards Long Chen. The 9-headed snake demon's venom was the rarest and most incurable poison in the world. But it had no effect on Long Chen's ancestor dragon body. The 9-headed snake demon was shocked. On one hand, he waited for the other demonic emperors to rescue him, and on the other, he used his strongest move to deal with Long Chen. Forbidden Death Zone. Under the control of the 9-headed snake demon, the mystique in his bloodline was unleashed. Within the area surrounded by the huge body of the 9-headed snake demon, his 18 gray eyes lit up, and 18 rays of death rays intertwined into 18 gray poisonous snakes that couldn't be dodged and surrounded Long Chen. Long Chen sneered. His astonishingly nimble 10,000-meter-long body suddenly turned around, and his dragon tail, which was filled with terrifying power, was swung out. The space was shattered, and all the clouds around him were destroyed. This crushing divine dragon tail completely disregarded the 9-headed snake demon emperor's magical power attack. It shattered it with the most terrifying speed and power. Then, the incomparably huge dragon tail smashed the 9-headed snake demon emperor's body with a loud bang. At that moment, all 9 heads of the 9-headed snake demon were trembling. Under Long Chen's divine dragon tail whip, half of his body was blown to pieces, and 3 of his 9 heads were broken by Long Chen. Blood splattered everywhere like a downpour. The 9-headed snake demon was seriously injured, and he was sent flying into the sky before crashing down. At this moment, he had completely lost his fighting strength, and was defeated by Long Chen in one move. If the huge body of the 9-headed snake demon had hit the ground, at least 100 people from the desolate imperial palace would have been killed. Blood splattered everywhere, and many demons were dyed red. Most importantly, the 9-headed snake demon's blood was poisonous. Therefore, in a short period of time, thousands of demons were rolling on the ground in extreme pain. Other than the 6 demonic emperors, the other experts of the desolate imperial palace moved out to detoxify the ordinary disciples. As for the 9-headed snake demon, when he landed, he had already transformed into his human form. His injuries had made it impossible for him to maintain his snake form. In a short period of time, one of the 6 demonic emperors had fallen. They had never imagined that the body of a mystical dragon could be so strong. But at this moment, there was no room for retreat. When the 9-headed snake demon was instantly defeated, the 5 of them charged at Long Chen with bloodshot eyes. In order to prevent the tragedy from happening again, the people of the desolate imperial palace had started to evacuate the crowd. In the sky, there were still 6 giant beasts left. Who knew what would happen next? Who will be next? These giant beasts made Long Chen's ancestral dragon body very excited. To the primordial blood spiritual dragon, this was a real battle. A battle of flesh and blood. Yin Xiao. This centipede was very strange. Without a word, Long Chen's figure changed. His mystical dragon body swam in the sky, and he rushed towards Yin Xiao. Protect Yin Xiao. The giant demonic emperors were shocked again. They were most afraid of being destroyed by Long Chen one by one. Other than Yin Xiao, who was escaping, The other 4 demonic emperors all used their most lethal moves to attack. Moon Devourer, Kuan Peng, Great Tortoise, and Golden Ape Ancestor. Each of their attacks were natural mystiques. If a martial artist of the same cultivation level took one of their attacks, he would be half dead. But to their surprise, Long Chen ignored their attacks. He was so fast that his 10,000-meter-long body swam above Yin Zhao's 3,000-meter-long centipede. Can you still walk? The primordial blood spiritual dragon's giant dragon claw reached out and grabbed Yin Zhao. The mighty demonic emperor struggled painfully in Long Chen's hand, but could not move. Do you believe that I can tear you in two? Long Chen said with a smile. No one dared to doubt him. The 3,000-meter-long centipede was in his hand. It struggled with all its might, but it could not move. The blood-colored mystical dragon's eyes were blood red, and its power was astonishing. The 4 demonic emperors were so scared that they stopped, afraid that Long Chen would tear Yin Zhao apart. But their killing intent was even more intense. In the blood mist, the mystical dragon's 2 giant eyes glowed with blood-red light, and they were in awe. Don't worry, I won't kill him. But, as he said those words, Long Chen flung the centipede Yin Zhao away. This was not a simple fling. Under the terrifying power of the ancestral dragon, Yin Zhao, one of the 6 demonic emperors, screamed and was flung out of the Desolation Imperial Palace by Long Chen. Yin Zhao crashed into a giant mountain 100 miles away from the Desolation Imperial Palace. His body smashed the mountain, but at the same time, large amounts of silver blood spurted out of his body, and his huge body was buried in the rubble. Yin Zhao's injuries were no lighter than the 9-headed snake demons. This level of strength was simply crushing. Long Chen was crushing the 6 demonic emperors. The remaining 4 demonic emperors were going crazy. Long Chen was clearly stronger than he had been at the Sword Spirit Imperial Palace. This was all thanks to Lingxi's goddess Su's blood. And at this moment, the mystical dragon coiled in the blood-colored clouds was still full of violent battle instincts, and every demonic emperor was moved. Everyone, let's use all our skills to shake him. The 4 demonic emperors looked at each other and decided. Each of them mobilized the power that they had cultivated for countless years, and used their most profound innate Tao techniques or mystiques. They had already thrown caution to the wind. If they did not attack at the same time, they would not be able to shake Long Chen. Long Chen's strength after transforming into a dragon could only be described as terrifying. Just as they were filled with righteous indignation and prepared to deal a heavy blow to Long Chen looked towards the Beast God Hall. Was the Desolation Imperial Emperor still standing there and watching? The second was even worse. Chapter 1631. Long Chen was confident in himself. So what if the 6 demonic emperors transformed into their beast forms? In his eyes, they were no match for him. But he was still in awe of the Desolation Emperor who had lived for tens of thousands of years. At this moment, he was destroying the Desolation Emperor's territory. Regardless of why the Desolation Emperor hadn't appeared yet, the 4 demonic emperors who still possessed great combat strength couldn't hold back their anger any longer. They launched their attacks on Long Chen. The Devouring Moon Demonic Emperor, the demonic wolf that roamed in the darkness, was most proficient in the Tao of Devouring. Devouring Moon was one of his mystiques, but it was a passive skill. He had a more terrifying move, which was also his killer move. Kuanping Demonic Emperor, Golden Ape Ancestor, and Great Tortoise all had their own killer moves that they had refined for thousands of years. After facing the terrifying divine dragon, Long Chen, every demonic beast the arch went crazy. They couldn't tolerate being humiliated by such a huge disparity in strength. They couldn't tolerate the 2 demonic emperors being injured. Long Chen's arrogance infuriated them. They had lived for tens of thousands of years, yet they were abused by Long Chen like this? This battle would definitely be the biggest stain in the lives of the 6 demonic emperors. At this moment, they could only be described as desperate. The Devouring Moon Demonic Emperor was shrouded in darkness, and behind him were layers upon layers of ghostly shadows. The Kuanping Demonic Emperor was engulfed in raging winds, and his huge golden eyes were shrouded in golden flames. On his wings, a large number of strange golden runes appeared. They were densely packed, and wandered around his body like scriptures. The Golden Ape Ancestor took out a huge golden stone with a diameter of 2,000 meters. This stone turned out to be a Tao artifact with 8 Tao patterns. This Tao artifact's weight was estimated to be several times heavier than the Great Tortoise. If one was hit by it, they would definitely be smashed into pieces and turned into minced meat. As for the great tortoise, it started to spin, and the huge mountain turned into a sharp sphere. The edges and corners shone with a soul-stirring radiance. Within the body of the great tortoise, the power of nirvana formed a huge formation. It looked like a simple attack, but in fact, it was much more terrifying than the other demonic emperors. Long Chen looked at them contemptuously. He did not move, but even so, no one dared to ignore his divine might. Below them, the moment that the enraged demons from the desolate Emperor Palace had been waiting for had finally arrived. True Martial Emperor Palace's sacred Martial Emperor Lord is powerful, but he's so careless and arrogant under the combined attack of the demon thearchs. It's almost time for him to make a fool of himself. The demonic sovereigns of the desolate Emperor Palace are not weaklings like the four great swordmasters. They will definitely win. We are the #1 Emperor Palace. How dare he come to the #1 Emperor Palace and behave atrociously? He deserves to be beaten to death. Even if the demon emperor doesn't kill him, our emperor will cripple him. Just because you're a dragon warrior, you think you're so great. An earth-shattering uproar swept over like a tidal wave. Long Chen understood that true experts didn't need to care about slander. On the road of life, there would always be some people who had nothing better to do. They would slander and defame you with their evil intentions. However, he had to grit his teeth and finish his own path. There was no need to care about the cries of the weak. The strong were destined to move forward alone. At this moment, the remaining 4 demon thearchs, in order to regain their dignity, even activated the hidden power in their bloodlines. They didn't hesitate to use up their lifespan to defeat Long Chen. This was the mission that the desolate emperor had given them. The moon-devouring demon wolf spat out a huge black moon. It was the devouring moon. Everywhere it went, be it the air, the clouds, or even the buildings below, they were all devoured. The terrifying tearing force could tear all living things apart. The Xueqi demon thearch's wings slashed out, forming 2 sharp blades that gathered on both sides of the devouring moon. Wherever the blades passed, the space was torn apart. The Golden Ape Ancestor's metallic stone Dao artifact and the Peak Turtle Demon Thearch's Heaven and Earth Millstone both descended at this moment. They attacked from the same direction, but they sealed off any escape route for Long Chen. Those who humiliate the desolate Emperor Palace will definitely suffer the most tragic fate. Long Chen, we have treated you like a guest, but you are our enemy. The desolate Emperor Palace is the #1 Emperor Palace. How can we allow you to offend us? That's right. You asked for our help to deal with the city lord of the wronged. With your current attitude, it would be strange if we would help you. You can be arrogant in the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace, but you must remember that this is the territory of the demon race. This is the desolate Emperor realm. The 4 demon thearchs burned their blood essence, determined to give Long Chen a heavy blow. The terrifying divine dragon hidden in the blood-colored mist watched the 4 killing moves descend with indifferent eyes. Especially the Peak Turtle, who followed behind the 3 attacks. He had come personally, and the power of the Heaven and Earth Millstone would definitely tear a large piece of his flesh off if it hit him. The body of the ancestral dragon was not for you to blaspheme. What a bunch of idiots! At this moment, Long Chen's body was shrouded in a strange mist. The power of time replaced the power of slaughter. His ancestral dragon body also began to change from a blood-colored body to an illusory one. The body of the void cosmic dragon was revealed. The 4 demonic emperors had a bad feeling about this turn of events. He is going to use the move that defeated the Lingwu sword master. The Xueqi demon the Arch said solemnly. That move had shaken their hearts. At this moment, the color of the eyes on Long Chen's huge dragon head changed. When the blood-red color completely disappeared and became incomparably hollow, the dreamy bubble appeared. The power of time turned into a dreamy torrent, rushing towards the attacks of the 4 demon thearchs. The dreamy bubble appeared under the time torrent. It was a beautiful ripple that caused the air to tremble. Within the ripple, the time was distorted and had a terrifying tearing force. The attacks of the devouring moon and the Xueqi demon the Arch were immediately met with the dreamy bubble. The terrifying power of time completely tore the devouring moon apart. The collapse of the power system caused the attack to be completely distorted, as though it had been disintegrated. Then, the golden stone Dao treasure was also swept up by the power of time. The power of the golden ape ancestor was completely disintegrated. Under the attack of the devouring moon and the Xueqi demon the Arch, The golden stone Dao treasure reversed and flew towards the great tortoise and the other 3 demon thearchs. All of this happened in an instant. The attacks of the 4 demon thearchs were broken by Long Chen in an instant. The entire desolate imperial palace was shrouded in a silent environment. The demon race looked at the attack that surpassed their common sense in shock. What kind of power was this? Disintegration, reversal. The opponent's attack became his own attack. The great tortoise bore the brunt of the attack and was sent flying by the attacks of the devouring moon demonic the arch and the others. His huge body fell to the ground and transformed into a blood-stained human form. Otherwise, the desolate imperial palace would have been destroyed by his body. The remaining energy rushed towards the 3 demonic emperors who were defenseless. At this time, the 3 demon thearchs were scared out of their wits. They were truly frightened out of their wits. They were scared witless and fled in a hurry. In their eyes, Long Chen was now a real demon. Everyone was shocked by this. However, the power of the dreamy bubble was irreversible and the 3 demon thearchs could not escape. Just as the 3 demonic emperors were about to be hit, the beast god main hall in the distance finally reacted. A yellow light swept over and blocked the path of the dreamy phantasm. It was this delay that allowed the 3 demonic emperors to escape. The power of the dreamy phantasm exploded in the starry sky, shaking the heavens and earth. To be able to force 6 demonic emperors to this extent alone, Long Chen could be said to be unprecedented and unsurpassable in the future. The only thing that could save them from the shock was the light coming from the beast god hall. At the juncture of pain and despair, they found hope. That was the desolate emperor. The desolate emperor would definitely defeat Long Chen, wouldn't he? Such an arrogant sacred martial emperor had allowed him to do as he pleased in the desolate imperial palace. Now that the desolate emperor had appeared, he would definitely teach him a lesson. With this thought in mind, all the demon race knelt on the ground excitedly after their failure and shouted, "Greetings, Emperor!" The desolate emperor, who had been in hiding for a long time, had finally appeared. Long Chen reverted to his human form and descended from the sky, landing outside the beast god hall. The 3 demon thearchs who were lucky enough to survive hurried to save their 3 companions. Countless demonic beasts roared, "Great monarch, this human has no respect for the laws of the desolate imperial palace. He has injured 6 demonic beast emperors and disgraced the desolate imperial palace. Great monarch, you must punish him severely." "That's right, Emperor. This human dares to provoke us. He deserves to die 1,000 times." Those who dared to say such things were at least Nirvana tribulation experts. Long Chen stood in front of the beast god hall calmly. At this moment, the desolate emperor's kind voice finally sounded from inside the beast god hall. "Child, what is your purpose?" the desolate emperor asked. He didn't mention the battle just now, nor did he blame or punish Long Chen. Instead, he was so kind. This made all the disciples of the desolate imperial palace dumbfounded. Why didn't the emperor take revenge for his own people? There must be a harsher way to punish him. That was what they thought. In fact, Long Chen was also puzzled. In his impression, this guy was very arrogant. He answered, "I want to go to the ancient demon territory and bring Mo Xiaolang out." He wanted to see how the desolate emperor would answer him. Unexpectedly, the desolate emperor said, "You could have just told me about such a thing. There's no need to make such a big scene. If that's the case, you can go." Long Chen was dumbfounded. Would that work? He thought he would need to threaten the desolate emperor. Long Chen was puzzled that he had achieved his goal so easily. Could it be that there was something special about the ancient demon realm that he didn't know about? Chapter 1632. The Desolation Emperor's appearance immediately disrupted Long Chen's plan. The Desolation Martial Emperor was more amiable than he had imagined. He was like an ordinary senior chatting with him. There wasn't the slightest hint of anger in his tone. On the other side, Devourer, Kuanping, and the Golden Ape Ancestor were helping the 3 injured demonic emperors to heal. The Desolation Emperor didn't care about such an important matter at all. This made the ordinary demons almost explode with anger. However, the other party was the Desolation Emperor. They couldn't ask for anything and could only suppress their anger. "Are you sure you want to go to the ancient demon realm? Devourer, Kuanping, take my emperor token and bring him to the ancient demon realm." The Desolation Emperor laughed and said generously. However, Long Chen was puzzled. What exactly was this old fellow planning? There was no such thing as a free lunch. Even the true martial emperor told him to be careful. The other demonic emperors didn't understand what the Desolation Emperor meant. The Xuanping demonic emperor said angrily, "Emperor, this kid injured the three of them and won't recover for a month. This is a provocation to the Desolation Emperor Palace. If we let him have his way so easily, where is the dignity of the Desolation Emperor Palace?" The Desolation Emperor said calmly, "Are you the one in charge of the Desolation Emperor Palace, or am I?" The Xuanping demonic emperor could only swallow his anger after hearing the Desolation Emperor's words. The person they respected the most in their lives was the Desolation Emperor. Long Chen thought for a moment, then interrupted their conversation and asked, "Heavenly Emperor, I want to know why you weren't willing to summon me before, but are so generous now. Could it be that Heavenly Emperor isn't afraid that I'll go to the ancient demon domain and take the little wolf away?" The Desolation Monarch chuckled for a while before asking, "This is what you asked for, isn't it? You, Emperor Shangwu, are invincible and defeated 6 of my demonic emperors. Don't I have no choice but to give in? Emperor Shangwu, you don't want to go in anymore? Are you afraid?" Long Chen was confused by this old ghost. This was something that he had fought for, but he had delivered it to him just like that. Why did he feel that something was wrong? There were 2 possibilities. First, this was Long Chen's way of rejecting him. If he did this, Long Chen wouldn't dare to enter the ancient demon realm. This way he would have succeeded. Secondly, there was a part of the ancient demon domain that Long Chen didn't know about. If Long Chen listened to him and went in now, it was very likely that he would encounter an irreversible crisis. These 2 completely opposite possibilities made Long Chen's head swell. This was the time to be the most careful. Long Chen asked, "The great emperor must be hiding something, right?" The Desolation Emperor laughed. "What can I hide from you?" This sly old guy was really not easy to deal with. Long Chen knew that the Desolation Emperor was currently in the mirror and couldn't threaten him, so he became bold and said, "If the great emperor doesn't explain clearly, then I can only continue to cause trouble. Since the great emperor is so lenient, you won't mind if I smash the Desolation Emperor Palace to pieces, right?" A threat. Such a bold threat shocked all the disciples of the Desolation Emperor Palace. Did this Long Chen eat a bear's heart and a leopard's gall? Long Chen didn't back down at all and waited for the Desolation Emperor Palace's answer. The disciples of the Desolation Emperor Palace were even more furious. At this moment, the Desolation Emperor laughed again and said, "I really don't know what to do with you. Since you threaten me, I can only tell you. Did Xiao Lang tell you that you can take him out of the ancient demon realm with your strength?" Long Chen's eyes were cold. He calmly considered the Desolation Emperor's words and said, "Indeed." The Desolation Emperor smiled and shook his head. "It won't be easy. Xiao Lang doesn't understand the ancient demon realm, so even with your strength, you may not be able to take him out after you enter. If that's the case, why don't I let you in if you want to?" Since the Desolation Emperor knew that Xiao Lang told him about the ancient demon realm, he should also know that Xiao Lang knew that he could only stay in the mirror. That was why he was threatened. This seemed reasonable. Then the ancient demon realm must have exceeded Mo Xiaolong's expectations. While Long Chen was thinking calmly, the Desolation Emperor's voice became serious. "You have great potential, and I don't want to be your enemy. However, Xiao Lang is my emperor's son. He has already promised me to cultivate in seclusion for 500 years. This is his promise, so it's not too much for me to let him enter the ancient demon realm. On the other hand, you, as the sacred martial emperor of the true martial emperor palace, came to my Desolation Emperor Palace to make trouble. If you really want to take him out, you must pay the price, and the price is that you may be trapped for 500 years. At this time, the Desolation Emperor finally spoke seriously. At this moment, Lingxi was standing beside him. Long Chen was instantly faced with a difficult choice. On one hand, it was Xiao Lang's request to him. On the other hand, he might not be able to leave the ancient demon realm and be trapped for 500 years. If he was trapped for 500 years, wouldn't this place be in an abyss of misery by the time he came out? Most importantly, Yang Lingqing would definitely be dead by then. This was something that Long Chen couldn't bear. However, if he didn't fulfill Xiao Lang's request and let Mo Xiaolang be trapped for 500 years, what kind of brother would he be? Such a difficult choice made Long Chen's head hurt from thinking about it. He had always been decisive, but this time, he couldn't make a decision. The Desolation Emperor was asking him to take a huge risk. Moreover, the Desolation Emperor only said that he couldn't leave the mirror unless he had no other choice. It wasn't that he really couldn't leave. If he really caused trouble, the Desolation Emperor would definitely come out. The Desolation Emperor continued, "Your identity is crucial. Even if you cause trouble in my palace, I can forgive you and even give you a chance to find Xiao Lang. However, whether you can come out or not has nothing to do with me. It's up to you. If you have the guts, I can make a bet with you." "Bet?" Long Chen asked. "Let's make this bet clear first." "It's very simple. If you can bring Mo Xiaolang out after you go in, I promise you that I won't restrict his freedom anymore. At the same time, if the 3 regions and 9 worlds are in trouble, the Desolation Emperor region will contribute its strength. However, if you can't come out, you will have to pay the price for what you did today. You will be trapped for 500 years. This is my punishment for you. Of course, you can choose to leave immediately. I don't mind." This bet. If he succeeded, the purpose of his trip would be accomplished. But if he failed, he would be trapped for 500 years and Ling Qing would die. Long Chen probably wouldn't even see the destruction of the 3 regions and 9 worlds. He could choose to leave immediately, but the Desolation Emperor Palace would leave in the following battle. He wouldn't be able to fulfill Mo Xiaolang's request. Both sides were extremely important to Long Chen. He couldn't do without either. "What's your decision?" The Desolation Emperor's words were full of temptation. "Chen, I think." Lingxi stood outside and whispered in Long Chen's ear. "Little Shi, what do you think?" Long Chen urgently needed someone else's opinion. Lingxi whispered, "Normally, Xiao Lang wouldn't need your help if it wasn't a big deal. I trust Xiao Lang a lot. Moreover, you have to cooperate with the Desolation Emperor Palace. This is a mission. Given your personality, you won't be satisfied if you just walk away. So." She paused and continued, "Actually, with your strength and potential, even if you can't come out in the short term, who knows how much you'll grow in a few months. Secondly, Zhenwu Emperor won't just sit around. You're so important to the 3 great regions. If you're really trapped, he'll probably come to save you. Thirdly, don't forget about the City Lord of the Vein's heart. His heart is in your body, so if you disappear, he'll be even more anxious than you are. At that time, the City Lord of the Vein might go against the Desolation Emperor." After listening to Lingxi's analysis, Long Chen suddenly felt enlightened. That time, Long Chen hadn't trusted himself and fought for it. This time, if the price wasn't too high, he wouldn't have hesitated so much. Now, with Lingxi's analysis, he felt much more at ease, especially the last point. Long Chen believed that if the City Lord of the Vein couldn't get his heart, he would never give up. Even if the ancient demon regions could trap him, could they trap the City Lord of the Vein? Didn't the Desolation Emperor not want to compete with the City Lord of the Vein? Then let them compete. Xiao Lang wouldn't ask him for no reason. There must be something important. Otherwise, he wouldn't have troubled Long Chen. After all, he also knew how important Long Chen was to the world. Long Chen hugged Lingxi and gave her a deep kiss on the cheek. At the crucial moment, Lingxi was still more useful. If this was a challenge, a gamble, with Long Chen's personality, he wouldn't give up just like that. "Then let's fight." So with a resolute look he said, "Emperor, I choose to enter the ancient demon regions." This sentence showed his astonishing courage. "Very well. Then the bet is established. As long as you can come out, then your potential and strength, Long Chen, will definitely be at a level that makes me revere you. You have the right to decide Xiao Lang's life," the Desolation Emperor said solemnly. Long Chen's decision surprised the 6 demonic emperors. They knew that Long Chen was related to the coming catastrophe of the 3 domains and 9 worlds. He was a responsible person. For Mo Xiaolang, he actually dared to enter the ancient demon regions? Wasn't he afraid that he would only come out after 500 years? Who knew what it would be like 500 years later? "Chen, I will accompany you in," Lingxi said resolutely. "You can't leave me alone in the Desolation Emperor's domain. One more person means one more way." Seeing her insistence, Long Chen could only agree. "Kuanping, Tan Yu, you two take my emperor token and lead Long Chen to the ancient demon regions. Sorry everyone, there's still one more chapter that I haven't finished before 6. I'll go eat first and finish the last chapter at night. I'll post it as soon as possible. Everyone isn't so enthusiastic today. Keep it up." Chapter 1633. The ancient demon realm was not within the desolate imperial palace, but rather outside. It was rather far away, almost at the border of the imperial palace. Fortunately, there was a special Xueqi transportation matrix. This place could be said to be the most northwestern place in the 3 regions and 9 realms. In front of them was a deathly silent desert. The sky was shrouded in a deathly gray fog, and there was only fine gray sand in the desert. There was no wind, and it was very quiet. A few days later, Long Chen, Lingxi, Moon-devouring monarch, and Xuanping monarch arrived. The 4 of them walked towards the entrance of the ancient demon realm. After a while, Long Chen suddenly asked, "Senior Moon-devouring, how is your relationship with Xiaolang?" Moon-devouring monarch was shocked. He had hated Long Chen before, but Long Chen's concern for Mo Xiaolang made him realize Long Chen's true character. He was not so arrogant and domineering. Hence, his attitude softened a lot. He said, "The imperial prince is a member of the wolf clan, and we are naturally the best." Long Chen said, "You probably know that Xueqi told me about Xiaolang, but I don't want to see this little girl being bullied when I come out." Moon-devouring monarch understood what he meant. He was afraid that the desolate imperial palace would punish Xueqi for revenge. He said, "Absolutely not. We are all monarchs. Why would we bother with a little girl? Moreover, her relationship with Xiaolang is not ordinary. We will not touch her either. Don't worry about that." Only then did Long Chen feel a little more at ease. He had forgotten about this matter because of the difficulty of making a decision. Hence, he reminded him. With Moon-devouring monarch status, he would not make things difficult for Long Chen on this matter. "At the end of the day, I rather admire you. I'm just very puzzled. If you view the matter of the city lord of the wronged as so important, why would you take such a risk for the imperial prince?" To this question, Long Chen could only say, "Because I trust him. Besides, I already owe Xiaolang too much. This time, you should not haggle over anything and just agree to his request." "All right, I really don't know how you managed to cultivate such a brotherly relationship. I can sense that in the emperor's heart, you are even more important than the emperor. That's why he didn't hesitate to resist the emperor for you. They had fought side by side for 10 years. How could he understand?" After advancing quickly for more than 6 hours, they finally arrived at their destination in this vast gray desert. Long Chen raised his head and smelled the aura of corpses in front of him. What came into view was a withered forest in the middle of the desert. It was a huge withered forest. The trees were very tall and blocked one's line of sight. However, there were no leaves. The entire withered forest was shrouded in gray. Vaguely, there were many corpses that were hundreds or even thousands of meters long. The whole world was filled with the silhouettes of corpses. Outside the ancient demon realm is the burial place of the experts of my demon race. It is also our race's sacred land. Generally speaking, it is absolutely forbidden for humans to desecrate it. I really don't know what the emperor was thinking. He actually allowed an outsider like you to come here and even made that bet with you," Xuanping demon sovereign said in a bad mood. In front of them, the ground was covered with corpses that were placed randomly and not buried under the ground. The corpses that were still close by were glowing with a deathly light, giving off a creepy feeling. Lingxi's face was a little pale, and she hurriedly held onto Long Chen's arm. "How many years has it been since the last human came here?" Long Chen asked. Devouring Moon Demon Sovereign casually replied, "At least tens of thousands of years. In any case, humans are basically forbidden to come here." In that case, the Desolation Emperor really seemed a little strange. He wants to imprison me for 500 years? Long Chen thought carefully. What was his purpose? At this time, Xuanping Demon Sovereign took out the Emperor's token. He said, "Don't go more than 10 meters away from me. Otherwise, your intrusion will cause the corpses of the guards to awaken, and the ancestors of the entire forest of corpses will riot and annihilate you. This is also the reason why others dare not come here. Without the Emperor's token, anyone who comes here will be torn to pieces by our ancestors. This is the power of the primordial spirit that they left behind." No wonder he wanted the Emperor's token. So that's why. It was no wonder that so many corpses were not buried in the ground, because these corpses still had the power of the demon clan. Before they died, they must have used some secret technique to come here, and become the loyal guardians of this forest of corpses and bones, so that a small part of their power could be preserved. Moreover, the countless corpses were too huge and endless. Who knew how many demon race people had died since ancient times? Following Xueqi demon sovereign, the four began to walk into the forest of corpses. Around them, the gray aura condensed into a long snake that slithered over and pounced towards them. But at this time, the Emperor's token formed a light circle with a radius of 10 meters around them, which prevented the gray aura from approaching. The forest of corpses that was about to boil quietened down. In this sea of dead wood and corpses, the four of them walked quickly and rarely spoke. Long Chen raised his head and looked at the corpses that were about 100 to 1,000 meters wide. They were of all shapes and sizes. There were beasts such as tigers and wolves, birds such as sparrows, water dragons, sharks, man-eating fish, insects, and a small portion of the tree race. The large number of corpses condensed into this sea of corpses. The deeper they went, the more shocked Long Chen was, because there were too many corpses. After walking for about an hour, basically everyone could only fly over the corpses. The deeper they went, the greater the power hidden in the corpses. It was estimated that not many people could break into the ancient demon domain. After walking to the place where the gray was the densest, there was suddenly an open space in front of them. In the open space, there was a long snake corpse that was 10,000 meters long, forming a circle. This long snake was not a dragon, but it was extremely terrifying, especially the thick head, comparable to a real divine dragon, probably similar to the body of Long Chen when he transformed into the ancestral dragon. The long snake corpse was divided into a total of 9 parts, and there were still remnants of color in the sea of consciousness. This is the corpse of one of the Desolation Emperors. His true form was the primordial 9-colored snake. Devouring Moon Demon Sovereign introduced. Long Chen suddenly thought of something and asked, "So, what is the true form of this Desolation Emperor?" He asked in a casual tone. "I don't know." Devouring Moon Demon Sovereign avoided the question and said, "The entrance is in the encirclement of the primordial 9-colored snake. Inside is a sea of bone dust. If you fall into this sea of bone dust, you will be able to reach the ancient demon domain. Whether you can come out or not depends on your luck. I can't guarantee it." Since he had already come here, it was impossible to retreat. Long Chen let Lingxi enter the Holy Kingdom. Without saying a word, he rushed into the sky, past the corpse of the primordial 9-colored snake, and found that its corpse surrounded a small lake. This lake was pure white, and there was no liquid in it. Instead, there was a kind of skeleton that had been ground into powder. At this moment, it was trembling slightly, quite a frightening feeling, and people did not dare to approach. There was a feeling that if he went in, he would be turned into bone dust. This was just an illusion. Long Chen realized that this might lead to a small Qian Kuan world. Taking a deep breath, Long Chen rushed inside. After he went in, the 2 demon sovereigns left. "Do you know why the Emperor tricked him into going in?" Xueqi demon sovereign suddenly asked. Devouring Moon demon sovereign shook his head. "If he went in, Zhenwu Great Emperor will definitely be anxious. Moreover, the 3 regions and 9 realms calamity is approaching, and the Emperor can't just focus on himself. But he did this to trick this kid. What was the Emperor thinking? How would I know? But Zhenwu Great Emperor is here, and there are emperors to deal with him. We can't think too much about it. Let's see how it goes." Xueqi demon sovereign turned back and said, "Do you think this guy who has created so many miracles can come out from inside?" "Nonsense, if the Emperor tricked him into going in, how can he come out?" In front of him, it was also a gray world. But this gray world was even quieter, without a trace of sound. Long Chen stood in a gray cloud, and the surroundings were shrouded in fog, so he could not see clearly what was in other places. This was an environment so quiet that it was suffocating. Lingxi was no longer a weakling, and the 2 of them could take care of each other. Long Chen let her out, and then looked around. There seems to be a faint light in front. Lingxi was nervous, and said softly. Without saying anything, Long Chen held her little hand and walked forward. They walked above the clouds, and had no idea what was above and below the clouds. When they reached their destination, a wall of clouds appeared in front of them, and there were many small white doors in the wall. As they walked, they found that there were some words written on these small doors, which should be the names of some connate Dao techniques. Roughly like this. If you enter the small door, as long as you pass the test, you can practice this connate Dao technique inside, or should I say, Practice the Kone Dao technique while passing the test? Long Chen asked doubtfully. Roughly like this? Lingxi was also uncertain. The two of them walked downwards. Confinement room, 1 year, 2 years. The words, confinement room, began to appear on the small white door. Long Chen sped up, and finally found a room with the words, confinement room, 500 years, written on it. The small words below said, once you enter the confinement room, you will not be able to come out for 500 years, and no power in the lower realm can destroy it. Enter with caution. Chen, look. Lingxi's voice came from behind. Following her gaze, Long Chen saw a small statue at the door of the confinement room for 500 years. It was a strange little beast, completely gray, and had no limbs, but its mouth was very big, and its small appearance looked very cute. This thing looks like the legendary dragon-swallowing beast. Lingxi said in surprise. Dragon-swallowing beast? This name made Long Chen very uncomfortable, and he asked, what the hell is a dragon-swallowing beast? Chapter 1634. Finally it has come to this. Thank you all for your support. Tomorrow, regardless of whether we have the conditions to reach the flowers in the roof, it will be 5 o'clock. Chapter 1635. Dragon-swallowing beast. A strange name. Based on this name, could it be able to swallow a dragon? Lingxi recalled for a while and said, since I was young, I've liked to read strange books and study formations and restrictions. I don't like to cultivate. I've seen an introduction about dragon-swallowing beasts in an ancient book. The general description is that they don't have limbs and are just a meatball. Their mouths and eyes are very big and they look quite cute. There's a sketch of a dragon-swallowing beast in that ancient book, and it looks roughly the same as the statue. Long Chen responded with an "oh." Compared to him, Lingxi was still considered knowledgeable. After all, she knew that the primordial blood spirit dragon was one of the 10 great ancestor dragons a long time ago. He continued to ask, what's so strange about this dragon-swallowing beast? Lingxi said, it's a book that introduces the reproduction of divine dragons. As divine dragons are the creatures at the peak of all living beings, under the rules of heavenly Tao, their reproduction ability is relatively poor. Moreover, in the ancient dragon sacrificial continent, the environment was harsh and there were frequent killings, which led to the overall population decline. This is also partly due to the dragon-swallowing beasts. She paused for a while and said, dragon-swallowing beasts are experts in concealment, and their ability to digest and devour food is especially strong. Their only hobby is to devour newborn dragons. Newborn dragons don't have particularly powerful strength. After all, they've just been born. These dragon-swallowing beasts are like hateful thieves, and they're the most hated ancient mutants by the divine dragons. They become stronger by devouring newborn dragons. Some lucky dragon-swallowing beasts can even grow to the same level as real divine dragons. However, most of them suffer the wrath of the divine dragons. Basically, as long as it's a member of the divine dragon race, they'll immediately kill a dragon-swallowing beast when they encounter one. Long Chen roughly understood. It turned out to be a type of ancient mutant that specialized in stealing chickens and dogs. This kind of thing was actually quite common. Among birds, there was also a type that specialized in stealing eggs, so it wasn't surprising. Basically, not many people know about this type of ancient mutant. Why is there a statue of it here? Lingxi asked doubtfully. Long Chen sized up the appearance of the dragon-swallowing beast for a while and asked, can this thing still live until now? Lingxi shook her head and said, that's absolutely impossible. Before the mystical dragons went extinct, the dragon devourer beasts had long gone extinct. Their actions were strangled by the mystical dragons, and they could be said to have gone extinct. On the dragon sacrificial continent where there were no divine dragons, it was impossible for them to survive, let alone possess powerful strength. This is recorded in that ancient book. The era of the divine dragons was too far away from the present. Not a single divine dragon among the billions of divine dragons that dominated the draconic continent survived, let alone the dragon-devouring beast. It was just a statue. It was not enough to prove anything. Long Chen's mind was on Mo Xiaolang. At this moment, he turned his attention back to the last white door. After entering it, the power of the lower realm won't be able to destroy it. Does the lower realm mean the eternal god domain? Long Chen asked doubtfully. That's right. To the people of the eternal god domain, they are high and mighty gods, while we are in the mortal realm, the lower realm. They are the true rulers. Lingxi said softly. Ever since they left the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace, they had been busy and hurried on their way. Especially when they were in the Eastern Royal Domain, she was completely exhausted. However, she did not have any complaints, and even took a huge risk to accompany Long Chen to this damned ancient demon domain. Let's go in. Long Chen made up his mind. The two nodded and found trust in each other's eyes. Long Chen took the lead and walked in front. He took a deep breath and pushed open the small white door. A gray vortex appeared in the door, and Long Chen grabbed Lingxi's fair hand and protected her in his arms. Then they rushed in together. The power of the whirlpool caused the sky and earth to spin, but the current Long Chen, in the so-called lower realm, no longer had much power that could threaten him. He quickly adjusted his body and passed through a world within a world. It was a lesser cosmos world before, and now it was a lesser cosmos world within a lesser cosmos world. In the blink of an eye, Long Chen had stabilized his body. In front of him was a passageway completely made up of clouds and mist. The air was filled with a large amount of gray mist, making it difficult for people to see things in the distance. The mist was like insects, and when it stuck to one's body, it would feel particularly disgusting. The passageway's walls were made up of a large expanse of gray runes. After Long Chen got closer, he found that these gray runes contained a very strong power, and their structure was very stable. Long Chen tried to attack them, and he found that these gray runes were indeed worthy of being set up by the demon race's ancestor. The degree of stability far exceeded his expectations. Let's find Xiaolang first. This was just a passage, and it was only 100 meters long. Outside the passage, there was a huge space filled with gray clouds. The two walked forward. The gravity is getting stronger. Long Chen felt it keenly. There should be a gravity maze in front. If we continue walking like this, when we reach the gravity maze, the gravity will be very terrifying, and the hallucinogenic effect will be very strong. Lingxi said in a low voice. With her help, Long Chen could learn a lot of information. When they reached a place that was almost close to the gravity maze, Lingxi's current physical body was comparable to the fourth Nirvana Tribulation Realm, but she still couldn't hold on. It could be seen how strong the gravity here was. Only Long Chen seemed to be fine. Although Lingxi could definitely hold on for half a month, Long Chen felt sorry for her, and let her stay in the God Nation. He was alone, and the danger was reduced. Then, Long Chen stepped into the gravity maze. Sure enough, the gravity was very strong. This was the strongest gravity Long Chen had ever encountered, and it was in the maze. Ordinary people couldn't bear it. Those who chose to come to the 500-year confinement room were probably strong people. It's empty, but it's endless. Where is Xiaolang? Long Chen thought, walking slowly in the strange gravity maze. This place was also very quiet, and only the sound of the gray clouds rolling could be heard. Long Chen felt as if he had entered the stomach of some kind of creature. This gravity bewildering formation is an ancient bewildering formation. Big Brother Chen, give me a little more time and let me study it. You can walk around first. Who knows, you might be able to bump into the little wolf. However, you have to be careful, Lingxi said obediently. Long Chen nodded and wandered around. He didn't make any progress, but he suddenly stopped. To his surprise, he felt a very familiar aura coming from behind him. He looked back and saw Mo Xiaolang with a calm expression. His long hair was tied up, and he was wearing black clothes. His face was fair, his nose was high, and his eyes were pure. He looked young and handsome. What a pure young man. He didn't expect to meet him so soon. You didn't expect me to come in so soon, did you? Long Chen said with a smile. After seeing Mo Xiaolang, he felt less pressure. You again. Although it's an illusion, you should make a decent opponent for me this time, right? Mo Xiaolang suddenly laughed. What do you mean? Long Chen was stunned. Be careful, Chen. Lingxi reminded him. Just as Lingxi said this, Mo Xiaolang used the magic power of God-burning flames. All the flames that he had devoured were now burning on his body. The scorching heat was pressing towards Long Chen. Mo Xiaolang didn't say anything. He turned into a black shadow and shot towards Long Chen. In the blink of an eye, the God-burning flames gathered on his fist and formed a huge flaming beast. Under the power of Mo Xiaolang's punch, it attacked Long Chen. In an instant, the surrounding gray air currents exploded. The power of the flame swept towards Long Chen. Among them was the whirlpool ability of the Tao of Engulfment. With Lingxi's reminder, Long Chen knew that Mo Xiaolang was in trouble. Therefore, he dealt with it calmly. The god-slaying sword appeared in his hand. With a slash, he activated the expand character formula. Under Long Chen's precise control, 9 streaks of sword qi blocked his opponent's attack and deflected the flames. Xiaolang! Long Chen shouted and a violent aura swept towards Mo Xiaolang. Such a loud roar was enough to burst the eardrums of ordinary people. However, Mo Xiaolang didn't seem to hear it. He let out a cold laugh and said, "It seems like this test is quite interesting. You can actually block this move of mine." What was the meaning of this? Long Chen couldn't care less. Since his opponent was in trouble, he had to subdue him first. The god-slaying sword would kill at every turn. Instead, Long Chen took out the Golden Demon Imprisonment Column and merged them into one. Under the Golden Divine Dragon, both of them started an intense battle. Compared to when they were in the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace, Missouri Xiaolong's combat power had improved slightly. However, under the intense attacks of Long Chen, the Golden Demon Imprisonment Column executed the Golden Demon Slaying Formation and completely confined Mo Xiaolang. After a few strikes, he couldn't move. Long Chen used the Golden Demon Imprisonment Column to suppress him and prevent him from transforming into his beast form. That would be even harder to deal with. After suppressing his opponent with his boundless power, Long Chen observed Mo Xiaolang carefully. He realized that Mo Xiaolang was actually very clear-headed and didn't seem to be bewitched. However, why didn't he seem to recognize him? Or did he see him as someone else? Could he have lost his memory? That wasn't possible, right? This was definitely the real Mo Xiaolang because he was the only sun-devouring demon wolf in the world. Therefore, Long Chen asked, "You don't remember me? I'm your big brother, Long Chen?" Under the suppression of the Golden Demon Subduing Pillar, Mo Xiaolang struggled with all his might and roared, "Why is this trial mission so difficult? I can't resist at all. Is there a mistake?" Long Chen was stunned. What was going on? Noon, 2:00 p.m. 1:00 p.m., 2:00 p.m., 2:00 p.m., 2:00 p.m. Today, let's see if the peak reaches 6,000. Flowers past 2,500. Then I can add more. Chapter 1636. Was there something wrong with the mission this time? What the hell was the meaning of this? He walked forward, grabbed Mo Xiaolang's collar, and gave him 2 slaps. He roared violently, "Xiaolang, take a good look at who I am." Indeed, Mo Xiaolang quietened down, and his eyes revealed a doubtful look. Long Chen thanked the heavens and earth. There was finally a chance to turn things around. Those 2 slaps were worth it. However, at this moment, Mo Xiaolang suddenly spat out his most lethal weapon, the 9 Serene Demon Ancestral Flame, at Long Chen, who was very close to him. Even the current Long Chen could only retreat in defeat against this flame. In his shock, he hurriedly retreated and narrowly dodged the other party's attack. But at this critical moment, Mo Xiaolang used the Hades Demon Ancestral Flame to burn Long Chen's Golden Demon Imprisonment Column, which was suppressing him. This caused a thick layer of ice to form on the surface of the Golden Demon Imprisonment Column, and even a small part of it was damaged. This was Long Chen's strongest weapon, and he couldn't let Mo Xiaolang destroy it. Helpless, Long Chen could only keep the Golden Demon Imprisonment Column. At this moment, Mo Xiaolang took the opportunity to escape with his fastest speed. Long Chen put away the Golden Demon Suppressing Pillar and hurriedly chased after Mo Xiaolang. In terms of speed, he was several times faster than Mo Xiaolang, but in reality, he couldn't see anything in the distance in this gravitational maze. Moreover, the maze was constantly changing. Long Chen tried his best to dash forward for a while under the pressure of gravity, but he soon discovered that Mo Xiaolang had disappeared amid the changes of the maze. Long Chen could only stop helplessly. He scanned his surroundings coldly and asked Lingxi, "Can you see what's going on?" Lingxi said, "The problem should be with Little Wolf. He should have been confused by something in this gravity-bewildering formation. Just now, he clearly saw you as someone else. Furthermore, he couldn't hear your voice at all, and couldn't see your appearance. He only treated you as a trial mission for him," Long Chen said sharply. "We are the same as Xiaolang. Something must be playing tricks on Xiaolang for him to encounter such a situation. In that case, This thing will definitely find the two of us in an extremely short period of time. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, Long Chen realized that this thought had immediately become a reality. There was actually some black mist mixed within the gray clouds. While Long Chen and Lingxi were conversing, this black mist, which was completely lifeless, had arrived behind Long Chen. By the time Long Chen realized this problem, the black mist had already quietly stuck to the back of his head. All of a sudden, Long Chen felt an intense pain in his head, which made him shriek in agony. There really weren't many things that could make him shriek in agony in the eternal celestial domain. Only this strange ancient demon domain could possibly exist. Chen, what's wrong with you? Lingxi panicked immediately. Her expression changed drastically, and her little heart pounded furiously. Long Chen no longer had the strength to answer her question, because he could sense that something irresistible was heading towards his consciousness. At the moment of that piercing pain, that black mist had already entered Long Chen's consciousness. In the vast consciousness, the illusory void cosmic dragon opened its eyes, which seemed to be able to dominate the entire world. That black mist had initially headed towards Long Chen's primordial spirit. However, when it realized that Long Chen's primordial spirit was actually a dragon, the black mist let out a bestial shriek. However, it was too late. Right now, Long Chen was extremely clear-headed. An illusory ray of light shot out of the void cosmic dragon's eyes and struck the black mist. In an instant, the black mist shrieked and fled. It had just left Long Chen's head when Long Chen's god-slaying sword instantly pierced through its body. "I'm fine, little she." Long Chen first reassured her before focusing on the thing that had been pierced by the god-slaying sword. It was a little black beast. It had no fur, and its entire body was smooth like a rubber ball. It had one large eye, and it was currently looking at Long Chen pitifully. It let out a baby-like cry. It sounded like it was begging for mercy. Long Chen did not show it any mercy. He forcefully restrained this terrifying thing that had almost swallowed his primordial spirit. He said to Lingxi, "Little she, what exactly is this? Is it the culprit that caused Xiao Lang to become like that just now? It actually managed to sneak into my consciousness in an instant." Lingxi could be said to have been shaken to the core. Now that she had finally heaved a sigh of relief, the ancient demon protectorate was still filled with danger. She examined it carefully and said, "This beast is definitely not a demon, but it has such a miraculous technique. I don't know what it is either, but I think it seems to want to enter your primordial spirit to anesthetize you and make you hallucinate. I believe that Xiao Lang must have been hallucinated by this little beast and thought that he was training. Any of his senses, such as hearing, sight, touch, smell, etc., are probably under the control of this little beast. That's why he couldn't hear your voice or see your face." "I see. Fortunately, my primordial spirit is the void cosmic dragon. Otherwise, I would have become the same as Xiao Lang. What should we do next?" Lingxi asked nervously. "First, find Xiao Lang, then think of a way to get this little black beast out of his consciousness. Finally, ask him how we can take him away," Long Chen said decisively. Lingxi nodded her head and then said, "This maze is constantly changing, but the core of the formation is quiet, and has not changed. Let's find the core of the formation first. I reckon that the little wolf might be at that place. Give me some time, I will try to figure out the trajectory of this formation." With Lingxi's help, everything would be much easier. If Long Chen was alone, he would definitely be wandering around blindly. He would be lucky to be able to find Mo Xiaolang here after a year. As for the little beast in his hand that was not completely dead, Long Chen hung it on the god-slaying sword and let it cry and scream. This gravity maze was so huge, there would definitely be other of its kind. If its kind were to come and see the little beast's pitiful state, they would probably be scared away. Long Chen realized that this little beast was actually very timid. This might be a breakthrough. With Lingxi's hard work, the two of them walked around for 3 days and 3 nights before finally finding the only peaceful place. This was where the eye of the array was. Within a circular area with a diameter of about 10 meters, there was no gray fog or gravity. When Long Chen arrived at the eye of the array, Long Chen finally heaved a sigh of relief. This was because he saw Mo Xiaolang here. He was sitting on the eye of the array, the flames all over his body forming a huge whirlpool that circulated around his body. He was cultivating. A trial mission and cultivation looked like the real thing, but in fact, the so-called trial mission was an illusion created by the little black beast. Long Chen did not dare to go near Mo Xiaolang for the time being. He was worried that Mo Xiaolang would run away again. After 3 days and 3 nights of crying, the little beast on the god-slaying sword finally died. Long Chen's eyes were cold as he thought of a way to solve the problem. He had the primordial spirit of the Void Aeon Dragon, but Xiaolang did not. If he used the Lingxi sword, it would also hurt Xiaolang's primordial spirit. After all, this little beast was not the spirit-devouring goo, but something more powerful than the spirit-devouring goo and the spirit-devouring goo. Just as Long Chen was thinking, a murderous aura came from behind him. Turning around, Zhang Xian saw a massive black mist surging toward him. Long Chen took a closer look and saw that there were hundreds of little black beasts. To be honest, Long Chen was really frightened at first. But he immediately smiled. When the little beast in Mo Xiaolang's Sea of Consciousness saw over 100 of its kind being killed, what choice would the timid beast make? Long Chen seemed to have found a way to solve it. So at this time, he resolutely chose to approach Mo Xiaolang. The little black beasts swarmed over at this moment. They did not have much fighting power, and there was no way to deal with such a large-scale attack. A casual strike from Long Chen could kill a few of them. Of course, when Long Chen succeeded, a few more little beasts rushed into his Sea of Consciousness. Just as they were about to show their strength, Long Chen easily forced them out. Wordless technique. When they realized that their most powerful trump card was ineffective against Long Chen, all the little beasts panicked. They screamed and prepared to escape. At this moment, Long Chen was using his final killer move. The god-slaying sword pierced each of the little beasts once. Long Chen did not kill them. So at this moment, in front of Mo Xiaolang, hundreds of little beasts were crying miserably and rolling on the ground. At this moment, the flames on Mo Xiaolang's body were retracted. He stood up and looked coldly at Long Chen. "Since when did the trial mission become yours, Yener?" He had mistaken Long Chen for Xueqi. Long Chen squinted his eyes and did not say a word. At this moment, Mo Xiaolang came out of the maze with flames burning on his body. "Don't think that you can confuse me just because you are someone close to me. I won't fall for it." Mo Xiaolang sneered. Long Chen pointed the god-slaying sword at the other party and said, "Get out of his body now, or I will kill all of your kind." Mo Xiaolang was indifferent as he attacked Long Chen. With outstanding speed, Long Chen dodged the other party's attack. At the same time, he slashed down with his sword. In an instant, a few of the little beasts stopped screaming. Long Chen did not care if they had intelligence or not. Even the least intelligent creatures would feel fear when they saw their kind dying one by one. Mo Xiaolang continued to attack. "You still don't want to come out? Then watch carefully. I will kill them one by one. Every time you attack, I will kill them." With Long Chen's speed, if he did not fight with Mo Xiaolang would not be able to catch up to him. Under the god-slaying sword, the little black beasts died one by one under Long Chen's feet. After about 30 little beasts had died, Mo Xiaolang finally stopped. His face was full of fear. This was the true expression of the little black beasts. "Scram and I can spare your lives," Long Chen said. At this moment, black mist rose above Mo Xiaolang's head. Mo Xiaolang fell limply to the ground. Long Chen supported him. Chapter 1637. Long Chen's method worked. These black beasts had lived here for countless years. They definitely had some feelings for each other. No matter how low their intelligence was, they still had the concept of being the same kind. When they saw their own kind dying one by one under Long Chen's sword, and when Long Chen was still threatening them, the black beast controlling Mo Xiaolang finally chose to retreat and fled. Long Chen did not give chase. To him, Mo Xiaolang's safety was more important than anything else. Mo Xiaolang had fainted, but he soon regained consciousness. When he saw that Long Chen was here, he immediately broke free and took a few steps back. He sneered, "You're my big brother again?" Mo Xiaolang did not know that he had been bewitched by the black beast. Long Chen's eyes were calm. He quickly said, "Xiaolang, I really am your big brother. Calm down first. Let me explain the process in detail." Mo Xiaolang smiled. "You actually know how to use words to confuse me? What a clever move." As he spoke, he attacked again. Long Chen dodged his attack and said, "I came to the desolate imperial palace under the orders of great Emperor Zhenwu to unite with the 3 realms and 9 realms to fight against the city lord of the wronged. But when I came to the desolate imperial palace, I did not see you. Then Xueqi told me that you asked great Emperor Zhenwu to bring the ancient demon domain. That's why I came. Mo Xiaolang stopped and looked at Long Chen suspiciously. He thought the way he looked. Are you really my big brother? Well, don't come near me. I have a few questions for you. Ask away, said Long Chen. Mo Xiaolang looked at him calmly and asked, Who told you that I was in the ancient demon domain? Yen-er? How did Yen-er know that I was in the ancient demon domain? I was brought here secretly by the 6 demonic emperors. That's not a very good lie. Long Chen was stunned. There seemed to be a problem. He calmed down and suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. He raised his head and asked, Xiaolang, are you saying that you didn't let Yen-er send me a message? Didn't you tell me to come into the ancient demon domain and bring you out? Seeing the shocked expression on Long Chen's face, it didn't seem to be an act at all. Mo Xiaolang was startled for a moment and said, Let's not talk about this first. What reason do you have to prove that you are my big brother? Just now you were Yen-er. Mo Xiaolang was completely confused. Long Chen pointed to the ground where the corpse of the black little beast was. He said, It's these black little beasts. They will turn into black mist and hide in the gray mist. They will invade your sea of consciousness and create illusions in front of your primordial spirit. Everything you saw before, be it vision, hearing, touch, etc., were created by these black little beasts. I just killed these little beasts to scare the thing that controlled your body. Did you feel dizzy just now? That's because the black little beasts left your body. This training in the isolation room is a scam. Indeed, you will improve if you cultivate in here, but it might not be very effective. After listening to this and looking at the sincere look on Long Chen's face, if Long Chen was just a training mission, he wouldn't be able to have such rigorous logical thinking. Thinking of this, Mo Xiaolang's eyes were filled with excitement. Are you really my big brother? Don't tell me it's fake? Long Chen smiled and said, It's really you. Mo Xiaolang finally let down his guard and looked at Long Chen with excitement. He suddenly recalled something and his expression turned strange. He asked, Big brother, you said that it was Yen-er who told you that I was in the ancient demon domain and asked you to come and save me? Long Chen was stunned. He told Mo Xiaolang everything that Xueqi told him that day, including the Desolation Emperor could only stay in the mirror, and Long Chen's strength could break out of the isolation room. After listening to this, Xiaolang was stunned. He said excitedly, I didn't know that the Emperor could only stay in the mirror, and I didn't say that you could break out of here. Time was tight, so I was brought here after returning from the Sword Spirit Emperor Palace. I didn't see Yen-er. Big brother, what's going on? Hearing this, Long Chen was stunned. He realized that he had been deceived. The Desolation Emperor lied to me. Long Chen felt a chill run down his spine. He had always been a sharp thinker and was rarely fooled. But this time, it seemed that he had fallen into a well-planned trap from the moment he came to the Desolation Emperor Palace. From letting Long Chen know of Mo Xiaolang's condition of not leaving the Desolation Emperor Palace for 500 years, to not responding to the Zhenwu Emperor's message, causing Long Chen to come to the Desolation Emperor Palace, and then using the 6 demonic emperors to receive Long Chen. Then with vague words, Xueqi told Xiaolang to ask for his help, and told him that the Desolation Emperor could not leave the mirror, and the final battle with the 6 demonic emperors. Finally, the Desolation Emperor came out and tricked him into coming here with a bet. All of this was a well-planned trap. There is no way I would say that. I would not be so reckless. Right now, you need to fight against the city lord of the wronged city and resurrect your little sister, and I am in such a dangerous situation. How could I let you come to me? Big brother. At this point, Mo Xiaolang's expression changed drastically. He also guessed that the Desolation Emperor had set up this trap, tricking Long Chen into coming to the ancient demon domain step by step. The Desolation Emperor had locked Mo Xiaolang up for 500 years not because of Mo Xiaolang, but because of Long Chen. Why did the Desolation Emperor target him? Or did he really want to nurture Mo Xiaolang at the beginning, but after learning about him, he used Mo Xiaolang to trick him into coming here? Why did Long Chen come here? That was because he felt that with Xiaolang's personality, he wouldn't ask him for help unless something big happened. Therefore, he subconsciously felt that something big must have happened, so he had to come here. However, the Desolation Emperor caught on to Long Chen's thoughts. It must be the Emperor's doing. Why did he trick you into coming here? Do they want you to stay in this godforsaken place for 500 years? What's in it for him? Emo Xiaolang was extremely angry. At this moment, he had already put all the blame on himself. He fell into a deep pit of self-blame. Long Chen patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't get too excited, and don't lose your sense of propriety. You're fine, aren't you?" At this time, Lingxi, who had been watching their conversation, suddenly remembered something. "Chen, I seem to know these little black beasts." At this moment, Lingxi's voice became extremely frightened, and her face became paler and paler. She must have thought of something terrible. "What are they?" Long Chen and Emo Xiaolang asked at the same time when Lingxi had already come out of the Divine Kingdom. Lingxi shook her head in panic and said, "I hope I'm wrong. According to the ancient records, the dragon-swallowing beasts have a parasite-like thing called the Phantom Beast. It's a small beast that can confuse people, and it's a weapon of the dragon-swallowing beasts. Sometimes, when the Phantom Beast and the dragon-swallowing beast work together, they can even confuse a divine dragon for a short period of time, and then the young dragon will be stolen by the dragon-swallowing beast. Previously, there was a statue of a dragon-swallowing beast, and now there are living phantom beasts here." Long Chen took a deep breath and said, "In other words, there might be dragon-swallowing beasts here, and I've just transformed into a dragon. Right now, I'm a young dragon, one that's only been born for a few days. The Desolation Emperor tricked me into coming here, so it's very likely that the Desolation Emperor's true form is a dragon-swallowing beast." "What's a dragon-swallowing beast?" Emo Xiaolang asked in a daze. Lingxi was already very flustered. She told Emo Xiaolang about the dragon-swallowing beast. What? Emo Xiaolang's mind went blank. The Desolation Emperor, who he was indebted to, turned out to be a dragon-swallowing beast. Moreover, he actually had designs on his brother, Long Chen. This speculation was very likely to be the truth. If it was the truth, then it would definitely be a huge blow to Emo Xiaolang, because both sides were people he respected. "Brother, I'm sorry. I've caused you trouble. I'm sorry." Emo Xiaolang's eyes were bloodshot. He looked at Long Chen agitatedly and growled in a low voice, "I didn't expect the Desolation Emperor to be this kind of guy. I really didn't expect it." "Shut up." Long Chen stopped him and then said calmly, "Don't say sorry. He's a sly old fox. This matter has nothing to do with you. Don't blame yourself. I'm fine now. Besides, the dragon-swallowing beast wanted to swallow me, Long Chen, but did it really work?" Lingxi also comforted Emo Xiaolang and said, "Yes, Xiaolang. Now is not the time to blame yourself. Since we've seen his true colors, we can no longer treat him as a good person. From now on, he's our enemy. We have to find a way to leave this place as soon as possible." Due to Long Chen's shout and Lingxi's gentle words, Emo Xiaolang gradually came to his senses. He closed his eyes. When a person who was extremely close to him actually schemed to harm someone who was even more important to him, he truly felt very uncomfortable in his heart. "Xiaolang, are you feeling better now?" Long Chen asked softly and looked at him with concern. "Yes, I was a little agitated just now." Emo Xiaolang nodded lightly. Long Chen looked around and said, "Someone set a trap, so we fought back. We've been on this path for so many years, and the words sorry don't exist between us. Little she is right. Now is the time for us to find a way out. If the other party doesn't show any mercy, then there's no need for us to show any mercy." Emo Xiaolang nodded and said, "I understand. If he's up to no good, then even if he gives me a bright future, it's just a hypocritical charity." Chapter 1638. What kind of person was the Desolation Emperor? To be honest, even Long Chen and Emo Xiaolang did not know much about him. Perhaps he was a dragon-devouring beast, or perhaps he wasn't. All of this was speculation. What was certain was that the other party had tricked them into coming here. So what was his motive? We can't just sit here and do nothing. Let's see if we can find a way to leave this place. Long Chen played the role of a pillar of support. Under Lingxi's gradual pondering, she had a basic understanding of this gravity maze. After a while, they returned to the tunnel they had come from, but found that the small white door had disappeared. In fact, when Long Chen came in, he did not see the small white door. He took out the golden demon imprisonment column and searched the surroundings, but did not find anything. "Let me try to attack this rune wall." After retreating out of the passageway, Long Chen instantly extended the golden demon subduing column to a distance of over 100 meters. With a mighty force, the golden demon subduing column slammed into the runic wall. Unfortunately, the structure of the gray runes was rather astonishing. The runes in the entire gravity-bewildering array were completely connected. Although Long Chen had only struck one part of it, he was dealing with the power of all the runes. Long Chen had a rough idea of the difference. This difference meant that even if he transformed into a dragon, it would be difficult for him to tear the runes apart. Moreover, who knew what was outside of the runes? Let's look around again. Since this direction did not work, the three continued to change directions, trying to find anything strange or crucial. The gravity maze was actually very big. The three spent 4 to 5 days before they finally went around the gravity maze once, but they did not find any exit. The entrance had said that the power of the lower realm could not open the 500-year imprisonment room. In other words, it would be very difficult for them to destroy it. Basically, there was no hope. At the critical moment of despair, they finally found a rather strange place in the gravitational maze. In front of him was a door condensed from gray mist, embedded in the rune wall. This door was relatively large, more than 10 meters in length and width. At this moment, there were still many runes on the door formed by the gray mist. Long Chen tried using the golden demon imprisonment column at the start, and realized that the door here was even harder to destroy than the rune walls. However, the key point was definitely this door. Since he couldn't break the door, Long Chen turned his attention to something else. Dragon-devouring beast. That's right, in front of this door, there was a statue of a dragon-devouring beast. However, this statue was much larger. It was no longer a small beast, but a giant beast. The appearance of this dragon-swallowing beast was even clearer. One could see that it had dragon scales similar to that of a divine dragon on its body. It had a bloody mouth that made people feel disgusted and horrified. It was not cute at all. Instead, it looked fierce and shameless. For some reason, when he saw the statue of the dragon-swallowing beast, Long Chen found himself particularly disgusted. Perhaps it was because of his bloodline. This made him have an urge to smash the statue right away. If there's an exit in this place, it must be on this door. Mo Xiaolang speculated. So we have to think of a way to break this door. Lingxi tilted her head. She had tried using the 6 Paths Immortal Sword, but she still couldn't break the door. Even Xiao Lang used the 9th Hell Demon Lord Flame to burn it, but it didn't have any effect. Where's Chen? Lingxi looked back and saw Long Chen standing in front of the statue of the dragon-swallowing beast, deep in thought. Chen, what are you thinking about? Lingxi walked over curiously. Let me try. Long Chen pushed her behind him, raised the golden demon imprisonment column, and smashed it towards the statue of the dragon-swallowing beast. The golden demon imprisonment column had the power of 50 divine dragons roaring. With a furious emotion, it smashed the statue of the dragon-swallowing beast, smashing it into pieces. Rumble! Large amounts of rubble shot out. At this moment, Mo Xiaolang and Lingxi didn't know why Long Chen smashed the statue of the dragon-swallowing beast. Just as they were in shock, they realized that the door behind them was dissipating. The clouds are dispersing. Mo Xiaolang exclaimed in surprise. Long Chen turned back coldly. The three of them looked on excitedly. When the clouds had completely dispersed, they realized that what appeared in front of them was another small white door. There are words on it. The three of them approached it. On the small white door were the words, 100,000 years of isolation room. There were a total of 6 ancient words. The small white door in front of them seemed to be filled with the marks of time. It was very strange. History must have saved them. 100,000 years of isolation room? This is a 500-year isolation room, but the one inside is actually 100,000 years of isolation room. If we were to go in, it would be even more difficult for us to come out. Mo Xiaolang said doubtfully. When these words were said, the three of them, who were still holding on to hope, became very discouraged. They originally thought that they had found the exit, but they didn't expect that there was actually a 100,000 years of isolation room. The span of time is too long. Long Chen's eyes were calm as he suddenly said. From 1 year to 2 years, 10 years to 20 years, to 500 years. The span isn't very long, but these 100,000 years are 200 times more than 500 years. Moreover, normally one nirvana tribulation will descend every 1,000 years. 18 major tribulations can be resolved in 18,000 years. If we can't come out in 100,000 years in this isolation room, it can only be said that it's the same as Zhenwu Heavenly Emperor's 5 elements clear sky pagoda. If we stay in here, we can avoid the nirvana tribulation. This was what Long Chen was puzzled about. Why was there a 100,000 years of isolation room inside a 500-year isolation room? Lingxi asked. Chen, are we going in here? Long Chen shook his head and said, not for the time being. We'll come back when we're at our wits' end. I feel that if we go in here, we'll fall into an even deeper pit and won't be able to come out. The two of them felt the same way. Since that was the case, they gave up on this place and wandered around in the gravity-bewildering array again. This time, after a full 10 days, they still couldn't find another exit. This doesn't make sense. The Desolation Heavenly Emperor tricked me into coming here and still hasn't made a move till now. The three of them returned to the 100,000 years of isolation room again. Long Chen extended his finger and pointed to the 100,000-year-old confinement chamber. He said, in other words, his purpose is to have us enter this place. If we don't enter, we will definitely be trapped here for 500 years. But if we go in, we'll fall into his trap. Lingxi and Mo Xiaolang looked worried. Mo Xiaolang said, if that's the case, there's no other choice. We might as well fight. Perhaps there's still hope. But if we stay here for 500 years, we'll definitely harm Ling Qing. Because of Yang Ling Qing, Long Chen didn't have much time to waste here. This time, Long Chen lowered his head and thought hard. Big brother, I have an idea, Mo Xiaolang suddenly said. Say it. Long Chen raised his head. The Desolation Heavenly Emperor's target should be you, right? Then I won't let him have his way. I'll go into the 100,000 years of isolation room and see if I can solve his trap. If I can solve it, I might have a way to get out or inform you. But if I can't solve it, you'll have to wait for more than a month before you decide. This was Mo Xiaolang's personality. No matter what, he wanted to be at the forefront and contribute to others. That won't do. We're brothers. Since there's no other way, why don't we go in together? One more person means more strength. No way, big brother. The Emperor's target is you. Mo Xiaolang said nervously. Isn't it better if we fight together? Xiaolang doesn't need to say any more, Lingxi said softly. Seeing their request, Mo Xiaolang could only nod helplessly. Little Shi, you should go into my Scandinavia. Why not? I can help too, Lingxi said unwillingly. It's not like that. If something happens, I can't take care of two people. Plus, you can think clearly in the Scandinavia. Isn't it better if I use you as a trap? Long Chen coaxed her. In fact, the main reason was that he didn't want her to take risks. After all, in terms of fighting, she was slightly weaker than Mo Xiaolang. After finally convincing her, Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang exchanged glances with one another. Long Chen took the lead and walked toward the white door. At that moment, Long Chen took a deep breath and gently pushed the door open. As soon as the door was opened, a tremendous force surged toward them, sending him and Mo Xiaolang flying. Watch out! The two were sent flying over 100 meters before they managed to stabilize themselves. They did not enter the 100,000 years of isolation room. At that moment, they stared at the white door in astonishment. The door was slowly pulled open, and a pale white palm was placed on the side of the door. When the door was fully pulled open, a pale white figure walked out from the 100,000 years of isolation room. At first, his body was shrouded in mist, but when the mist dissipated, his appearance was finally revealed to Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang. It was a young man around the same age as Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang. His appearance was ordinary, and even a little ugly. His mouth was slightly big, and his skin was pale. His eyes were large and lifeless, and there were a few white strands sticking to his head. This man. Chapter 1639. Who was this person? Long Chen didn't know him, and neither did Mo Xiaolang. But could he have been imprisoned for at least tens of thousands of years in the 100,000-year solitary confinement room? Long Chen sensed a beast-like aura from him. If his guess was right, this person must be a demonic beast, a member of the demon race. At this moment, he raised his head and looked up and down at Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang with his soulless eyes. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and chuckled. Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang leaned against each other. Their instincts told them that this was definitely a dangerous person. You guys, don't you recognize me? Xiaolang, you don't even recognize me? The ugly, pale youth said with a smile. Long Chen naturally remembered this voice. In the Desolation Emperor Palace, the Desolation Emperor in the mirror had spoken in such a voice. It was very kind, and rarely made people feel disgusted. It didn't match his current appearance at all. He was the Desolation Emperor. The #1 person in the Desolation Emperor Palace in the 3 regions and 9 worlds. But why would he be in the ancient demon realm, in the 100,000-year solitary confinement room? When he realized that this person was the Desolation Emperor, Mo Xiaolang was dumbfounded. Wasn't the Desolation Emperor he knew in the mirror in the Beast God Hall? Why would he appear here? At this moment, the Desolation Emperor was actually approaching them. Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang instinctively retreated warily. You guys are afraid of me? Why? The Desolation Emperor stopped smiling and asked curiously. Long Chen looked at him coldly, but he was thinking in his heart. From the looks of it, his real body has been imprisoned in the 100,000-year solitary confinement room for a long time, just like Emperor Zhenwu. At first, I destroyed the statue of the dragon-devouring beast, but he didn't come out until I pushed open the small white door. In other words, he couldn't have come out at first, but I let him out. This was almost a dead end. If Long Chen did not release him, then he could only wait for 500 years before he could leave. Because of Yang Lingqing, he couldn't wait for even a year. Since he had already released him, there was no point in blaming himself. The only important thing was how to deal with this old monster. Was he a dragon-devouring beast? What was his motive? Neither of them answered the Desolate Emperor's question. The Desolation Emperor laughed again. It seems like you two have been frightened by me. That's right, I tricked you, Long Chen, into coming here. However, my goal was only for you to rescue me from this 100,000 years of confinement. You may not know this, but the statue of the dragon-devourer beast is a trap laid down by my ancestors. Only a weapon belonging to a dragon warrior can break it and rescue me. I have no ill intentions, so you don't have to be afraid of me. Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang were both stunned. If that was the case, then their previous guess that he was a dragon-devouring beast was wrong? The Desolation Emperor just wanted Long Chen to get rid of him and get out of this 100,000 years of confinement? Although there were not many loopholes in this explanation, Long Chen still felt that something was wrong. Seeing that they were still vigilant, the Desolation Emperor turned around and saw the fragments of the dragon-devourer beast. He laughed involuntarily. Children, you actually think that I'm a dragon-devouring beast? How naive. If a dragon-devouring beast could live until now, then there must be a real divine dragon that lived until now. As for those phantasmagoric beasts, they were indeed bred by my ancestors for the warriors of the race to cultivate. The phantasmagoric beasts have no ill intentions. They are just simulating a battle environment for you. In other words, both of their previous guesses were wrong? The Desolation Emperor had no intention of harming them at all? In fact, they had guessed that the Desolation Emperor's real body might be in the ancient demon domain, but they did not expect it to be true. Long Chen pondered for a moment and said, What I don't understand is that if you really needed my help, you could have just said it and I wouldn't have refused you for Xiaolang's sake. But why did you trick me into coming here? That doesn't seem right, does it? The ugly Desolation Emperor laughed dryly and said, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what kind of person you are. For some unspeakable reason, I had to come out as soon as possible, so I set up a small trap for you to come in. But I can guarantee that I absolutely have no ill intentions towards you. Although he still could not trust this guy. But since he had already said so, Long Chen had no room to refute. So he asked, If that's the case, you must have a way to get us out of here, right? As he asked this question, the Desolation Emperor suddenly pressed his wide pale palm against his head and laughed. Of course. But before we leave, I have to ask my Xiaolang a very, very small question. As he spoke, he began to have a creepy feeling. Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang became nervous again, because they felt that the Desolation Emperor was a little crazy. Father, ask away, said Mo Xiaolang. After the Desolation Emperor finished laughing, his expression became strange. He said, Let me ask you, if between me and Long Chen, one person must die, who do you want it to be? Hearing this question, the two's slightly relaxed hearts tensed up again. They realized that the reason the Desolation Emperor tricked Long Chen into coming here wasn't as simple as letting him out. Mo Xiaolang said seriously, "Father, this question is meaningless. You and my brother are both important people to me. With my relationship with you, this kind of situation can't happen between the two of you." The Desolation Emperor became angry. He looked at Xiaolang a little crazily and said, "I don't care. If you don't give me an answer, I might have a bad temper and do something that will hurt your heart." As expected, this guy was not normal. The two became vigilant again. "I must have an answer, or else." Haha. The Desolation Emperor grinned. Mo Xiaolang clenched his fists. He couldn't lie, so he said, "If I have to choose, I will definitely choose my brother. I wonder if father is satisfied with this decision?" Long Chen couldn't say anything about this answer. He knew that this must be the answer in Mo Xiaolang's heart. People couldn't betray the answer in their heart, so when Mo Xiaolang said it so bluntly, he didn't think that Mo Xiaolang was stupid. He only felt that it was worth it to have such a brother in his life. Even if he was threatened, he couldn't say anything against his heart. This was their brotherly love. This answer made the Desolation Emperor laugh again. Perhaps he already knew this answer, so he sighed and said, "What an enviable friendship. It's a pity that I've never had a decent brother in my life. I really envy you guys. However, I'm a little curious. Can your brotherly love really take the test? Then I'll ask you two another question." At this point, he paused for a moment. His eyes became a little sinister as he said, "Then if one of you must die, who do you want it to be?" Long Chen will answer first. This question made Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang feel the taste of a battle. They were almost certain that the Desolation Emperor was going to make a move on them. Although they didn't know the reason, it seemed that he wouldn't let them go easily. Long Chen was ready to fight from the start. When the Desolation Emperor stared at him with a sinister gaze, Long Chen replied, "Emperor seems to be interested to ask such a question. What about me and Xiaolang? If one of us must die, do you really want to know my answer?" "Of course," the Desolation Emperor said with certainty. Long Chen said word by word, "In that case, I will choose the person who set the rule of 2 deaths for us. Whoever kills one of us, I will kill that person. In any case, that person shouldn't be the Desolation Emperor, right?" "Of course it won't be me. You slippery fellow. How dare you avoid my question?" The Desolation Emperor laughed again. His tone was like that of an elder, but also like a madman who had been imprisoned for many years. Finally he asked Mo Xiaolang, "Xiaolang, what's your answer?" Mo Xiaolang gritted his teeth and said, "Godfather, if you want one of us to die, then we can only work together to kill you." His answer was much more direct than Long Chen's. His eyes were filled with pain. In fact, he used to respect the Desolation Emperor very much. But today, he realized that this person was completely different from what he had imagined. The person in front of him was a madman. After listening to Mo Xiaolang's answer, the Desolation Emperor laughed heartily again. This time, he laughed so hard that he bent over. After a long time he calmed himself down and said, "Don't be too nervous. I have been depressed for too long. Seeing that you two brothers have such deep feelings for each other, which is rare in this world, I am extremely envious, so I decided to test the two of you. I was moved by the results, but I was also very envious of them. There is no other meaning. Thank you for giving me my freedom. Now, I will take you away. Follow me." After saying that, he really led the way. Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang were really dumbfounded. Was that really the case? Was he really just teasing them? "Follow him?" Mo Xiaolang asked. Long Chen nodded. The Desolation Emperor's last sentence seemed to be true, so it should not be fake. He was just testing the two of them. Along the way, the Desolation Emperor no longer joked. Instead, he talked about trivial matters of his youth. He said that he had a brother who had died in the Nirvana tribulation. He missed him, but there was nothing he could do about it. Life was like this. In the future, they would also die in the Nirvana tribulation. Those who could survive were people who had to endure endless loneliness, such as the Zhenwu Great Emperor and him. Long Chen could more or less understand his loneliness and loneliness. The exit is in front. The Desolation Emperor suddenly turned back. Long Chen was about to move forward when he suddenly realized that Mo Xiaolang had stopped. "Xiaolang." Long Chen was puzzled. He turned back and saw that Mo Xiaolang was suddenly enveloped by a gray rune light shield. Enter my stomach, dragon. Otherwise, I will kill your brother. At that moment, a terrifying voice rang in Long Chen's ears. The 5th update was over. Zhou Tong was first. He had just opened the gap, but the other party had caught up. Chapter 1640. The Desolation Emperor was the most cunning person that Long Chen had ever met. He was able to trick Long Chen and make Long Chen come in obediently. He could also use words to confuse both Long Chen and Long Chen into not knowing the Desolation Emperor's identity. At first, he thought that the Desolation Emperor was a dragon-devouring beast. However, the Desolation Emperor's subsequent words had already exposed his identity. However, he had already gained the upper hand. When the Desolation Emperor turned around with a sinister smile on his face, revealing a row of shark-like sharp teeth, Long Chen's mind went blank. The Desolation Emperor was extremely strange. Long Chen had no idea how Mo Xiaolang had fallen for his trick. At this crucial moment, the only thing he could think of was to return to Mo Xiaolang's side. The god-slaying sword in his hand gathered all the strength in his body and slashed towards Mo Xiaolang with all his might. Long Chen did not dare to be careless. Therefore, he used the true meaning of the god-slaying art for this slash. He wanted to split the transparent ball formed by the runes. Mo Xiaolang was also inside, burning it with the 9th underworld demon ancestral flame. Both of their reactions were extremely fast. However, what shocked both of them was that when Long Chen's sword slashed at the rune boundary, the power of the god-slaying sword easily penetrated the rune boundary and hit Mo Xiaolang's body, leaving a wound on Mo Xiaolang's body. This was an accidental injury. However, this made Long Chen dumbfounded. What kind of strange thing was this? Didn't that mean that he had no way of breaking the rune boundary? His power could not affect the rune boundary at all. Instead, it would seep through and affect Mo Xiaolang's body? Moreover, the Desolation Emperor had already considered Xiaolang's 9 nether demon ancestral flame in the rune boundary. Therefore, at this moment, Long Chen found that even the 9 nether demon ancestral flame was useless. If he were to attack from outside, it would be completely ineffective. He would only accidentally injure Mo Xiaolang. Mo Xiaolang's attacks from inside were completely ineffective. Both of them were so anxious that their eyes were bloodshot. The Desolation Monarch looked up to the sky and laughed. Children, don't waste your efforts. This is something I've prepared for a long time. It was very valuable and its value was equivalent to a Dao artifact with 8 Dao patterns. There is only one in the 3 regions and 9 worlds, and it is called the Space of Despair. You will soon understand why this thing is called the Space of Despair. He paused for a moment, then continued with a smile. That's because it was specially designed for you brothers. It wants you to feel despair. This Space of Despair will begin to shrink at this moment. After 2 hours it will shrink to a point, and in just an hour, I reckon that the thing inside will be squeezed into a meat patty, a meatball. As for Long Chen, you're about to witness this scene with your own eyes. You'll see your best brother's eyes filled with despair. You'll see his body gradually deform and turn into minced meat. Haha. Am I a little too evil? No matter what, Little Wolf is my adopted son. In 2 hours, it would shrink to a dot. In an hour, it would shrink with an irresistible power that would shrink Mo Xiaolang into a meat patty. Furthermore, at this moment, Long Chen could truly feel that the irresistible force was rapidly shrinking. This so-called Space of Despair wasn't that tough, it was just that it contained a kind of Dao, a Dao that couldn't be broken. No matter how sharp a weapon was, no matter how powerful it would still be pierced through. This time, Long Chen slashed with the god-slaying sword several times with his greatest strength, but it still had no effect. In the Space of Despair, Mo Xiaolang's eyes were filled with hesitation. No one had expected such a thing to happen. This so-called Space of Despair was not created by the Desolation Monarch. Instead, he had planted it in Mo Xiaolang's body a long time ago, before Mo Xiaolang was strong enough. He had only released it now. This meant that a long time ago, he had the intention of making it impossible for Mo Xiaolang to escape. Today it came in handy. Long Chen. The Desolation Monarch opened his huge mouth and pointed a pale finger at his bloody mouth. Come and satisfy me quickly. I haven't eaten for tens of thousands of years. I'm so hungry, I'm about to starve to death. If you don't enter my mouth quickly, your brother will be completely squeezed into a meat patty within an hour. Aren't you brothers deeply in love with each other? At this moment, one of you must die. How will you choose? Long Chen, you keep saying that he is your brother and that he is willing to sacrifice his life for you. But what about you? Can you do that? As long as you obediently enter my stomach and let me digest you, I will let him go. After all, Xiao Lang is also my adopted son. Xiao Lang and I are father and son. Even a vicious tiger will not eat its own cubs. Don't you think so? The Desolation Monarch's voice was like a disgusting mosquito that constantly lingered in his ears. Big brother, quickly find a way to escape. He is definitely a dragon-devourer beast. Everything he is doing is to devour you. In the space of despair, Mo Xiaolang said hysterically. Once again, he felt that because of him, he had implicated Long Chen. Perhaps when they parted ways in the Netherworld Mansion and went to the True Martial Imperial Domain and the Desolation Imperial Domain respectively, this was probably the end of it. Mo Xiaolang's heart was already in despair. Even his strongest technique, the 9th Underworld Demonic Ancestral Flame, was useless. Moreover, the space of despair was very powerful. However, the attribute of the rune could easily disperse their attacks, making it seem like they were hitting cotton. Moreover, Mo Xiaolang was still inside, so Long Chen couldn't risk his life to destroy it. His respected adoptive father turned out to be a dragon-devourer beast. He had been planning from the beginning to devour his big brother. At this moment, in Mo Xiaolang's heart, the Desolation Monarch's position was no longer there. At this moment, they were enemies. Desolation Monarch, perhaps you have always nurtured me for your own benefit. Today we will break all ties. From today onwards, I no longer have you as my adoptive father. Also, I advise you to stop. Threats are useless against us. We will kill you. In the space of despair, Mo Xiaolang roared. He knew that Long Chen wouldn't escape first. Moreover, in this 500-year-long confinement room, it was impossible for Long Chen to escape. They were like two little lambs, tightly controlled in the palm of the Desolation Monarch's hand. After listening to Mo Xiaolang's words, the Desolation Monarch said in a very pained tone, "How sad. My adoptive son actually wants to break ties with me. Then I can only watch you being squeezed into a meat patty by the space of despair. Who asked your good brother to disregard your life and not come into my mouth? Come, come, dragon. I am a person who keeps his promises. As long as you are willing to enter my stomach, I will let him go. How about it?" The Desolation Monarch said in a very tempting voice. At this critical moment, time was running out. Long Chen could only calm himself down. He realized that persuading the Desolation Monarch to let Mo Xiaolang go was not going to work. The only way was to fight. Why did the Desolation Monarch threaten him instead of directly devouring him? Was it because he wanted to test the relationship between Long Chen and Mo Xiaolang? Or was it because of his own strength? He was a person who had been imprisoned in the confinement room for tens of thousands of years. Was his current strength good or bad? Or was it similar to Jinwu Monarch, where he could only use his strength once or twice? After analyzing it, Long Chen guessed it was the latter. Therefore, the Desolation Monarch was probably not willing to fight Long Chen, nor was he willing to waste his precious strength. Although Long Chen might not be as strong as the Desolation Monarch, his strength was endless. Xiaolang. Long Chen looked over coldly. Mo Xiaolang was in a state of panic and despair. Long Chen's resolute gaze gave him a bad feeling. "Big brother, don't listen to him," Mo Xiaolang said anxiously. Long Chen shook his head and said, "No, I'm going to kill him." This was his courage, and it was also his method of risking his life. The Desolation Monarch. Even Jinwu Monarch was in awe of him. Long Chen did not know how strong the Desolation Monarch was, but at this moment, for the sake of Mo Xiaolang's life, for the sake of 1 hour, he had no choice but to risk his life. Therefore, at this moment, Long Chen did not hesitate at all. He directly revealed his ancestral dragon body, which was tens of thousands of meters long. The huge dragon shrouded in a blood-colored mist hovered in the huge gravity maze, its entire body reeking of blood. The characteristics of the bloodthirsty and massacre dragon were completely revealed. Long Chen stretched out a huge dragon claw and placed Mo Xiaolang on his palm. He realized that he could not bring Mo Xiaolang into the Divine Kingdom at this moment. The power of the space of despair was definitely restricting him. The 10,000-meter-long body almost crushed the gravity maze. After protecting Mo Xiaolang, Long Chen's huge bloody eyes stared at the Desolation Monarch, who had already fallen into a state of madness. Ah, a dragon that's already tens of thousands of meters long when it's still a young dragon. What kind of dragon are you? Why have I never seen you before? What the hell are you? The Desolation Monarch was extremely fanatical and thirsty. He fell into a state of silence, his wide mouth dripping with saliva. Old ghost, if you want to eat me, wait until you can defeat me. The huge dragon covered in blood let out an earth-shattering roar, causing the entire gravity maze to tremble. It could be seen how powerful Long Chen was at this moment. Come, enter my stomach, haha. What a delicious dragon. This is the strongest dragon martial artist I've ever seen. It's really not easy. Did I pick up a treasure? There was only half an hour. Not even that. Long Chen's eyes were bloodshot, and his huge bloody dragon claw began to attack crazily. P.S. Yesterday's flowers, 2412. Are you guys slacking off? This is the first time the flowers are less than 2,500. I saw it in the morning and was pleasantly surprised. I can relax a little today. I've broken through 8,000. I'll add 1 chapter today, making it a total of 4 chapters. P.S. December is the month of exams, and there's an exam in the afternoon. Because there are explosive chapters on Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are high-intensity 5 chapters. Every day, I write from morning to 10 at night, and I can't save a single chapter, so I'll release 3 chapters at noon. Today's last chapter might only be released between 8 to 9 at night. I'm really working hard, and I hope you guys can understand. P.S. 3 chapters a day is the most suitable. I can fully plan the plot. 4 chapters is my limit, and 5 chapters is basically working hard every day. After all, I only have 3,000 words per chapter, and there's no way I can compete with an author who has 2,000 words. 5 chapters is equivalent to 8 chapters for others. Today's 4 chapters won't lag anyone. Chapter 1641. A huge dragon claw slashed towards the seemingly insignificant Desolation Emperor. Child, you won't be able to hit me. Don't you know that in ancient times, my race's most powerful technique was concealment? Why were we able to devour divine dragons? That's because we're even more perfect than the divine dragon. We're the supreme rulers. The Desolation Emperor was still smiling. You are just shameless thieves. At that moment, the dragon claw bombarded the ground of the gravitational maze, causing the earth to tremble. At that moment, the Desolation Emperor had already disappeared. Indeed, not only was his Tao of illusion and concealment amazing, even his speed was astonishing. Long Chen had a bad feeling about this. Sure enough, at that moment, the Desolation Emperor's body appeared on his divine dragon body. He caressed Long Chen's blood-red scales and exclaimed, "What a perfect young dragon, a perfect feast! The heavens are really kind to me." Long Chen was enraged. The scale that the Desolation Emperor was caressing flickered with primordial runes. The blood-red runes instantly collided with the Desolation Emperor's body and sent him flying. Long Chen turned his huge dragon head and the destructive dragon claw once again slashed towards the Desolation Emperor. Child, you can't touch me. There's no need to struggle. You only have an hour to decide. If you miss this time, your brother will die. Are you such a selfish person that you can only watch as your brother dies? The Desolation Emperor continued to laugh. Sure enough, Mo Xiaolong's despair space had shrunk by quite a bit. Time was life. Long Chen was in a frenzied state. If he didn't hurry, Mo Xiaolong would die. This damned Desolation Emperor. This damned dragon-devouring beast. He had completely triggered the rage in Long Chen's heart. Great anger. What he hated the most was being threatened by others, especially when it involved the lives of those close to him. Just like how the city lord of the wronged city had threatened Yang Lingqing. This was Long Chen's reverse scale. One day, Long Chen would take his revenge and make them pay a heavy price. The wrath of the divine dragon shook heaven and earth. The Desolation Great Emperor was still immersed in laughter. At this time, Long Chen suddenly summoned close to 60 golden demon imprisonment columns. This was the confinement room for 500 years. So what if the heart of the city lord of the wronged woke up? Long Chen couldn't care less. When the 60 golden demon imprisonment columns were pulled out, the crystal coffin started to tremble lightly. Lingxi was worried about Long Chen's situation. Seeing the blue-haired beauty in the crystal coffin, She took out the Six Paths Immortal Sword. The Six Paths Immortal Sword also had the ability to seal and suppress. With the help of the Six Paths Immortal Sword's righteous power, the crystal coffin couldn't move at all. Chen, you can use all the golden demon imprisonment columns. I will help you suppress her for 3 days and 3 nights. Lingxi said confidently. This was the only way she could help Long Chen. All right. Long Chen shouted. 99 huge golden demon imprisonment columns, each more than 100 meters tall, surrounded Long Chen's huge divine dragon body and spun crazily. Golden power filled Long Chen's body. Countless rays of golden light sprinkled down. This was the first time the golden demon imprisonment columns were in a perfect state. Long Chen instantly felt a huge and complete power in the golden demon imprisonment columns. 99 divine dragons formed a mysterious array and released a huge amount of power. Oh, so it's a Dao treasure with 8 Dao patterns. Not bad. Golden demon imprisonment columns. The Desolation Great Emperor's voice came from the shadows. Golden demon imprisonment columns. Seal. Suppress. Under the control of Long Chen's immense power, the 99 golden demon imprisonment columns instantly formed a circle, trapping the Desolation Emperor who was hidden in the darkness. Between the golden demon imprisonment columns, golden lightning weaved into a huge net, trapping the Desolation Emperor within. Suppress. Suppress. Under Long Chen's relentless output of power, the 99 golden demon imprisonment columns slammed into the ground, completely trapping the Baron Emperor within. The Baron Emperor couldn't move at all, and at this moment, Long Chen's huge dragon tail swung down like the largest whip in the world. It landed heavily on the Baron Emperor, who was trapped within the golden demon imprisonment columns. In that instant, Long Chen could see blood splattering everywhere. Dead. The tail was the greatest strength of Long Chen's ancestral dragon body. The power of a divine dragon's tail was even stronger than a dragon's claws. Therefore, when he hit the Desolation Great Emperor in a sealed state, Long Chen only felt blood splatter everywhere and nothing else. The surroundings suddenly quietened down. Long Chen realized that the Desolation Great Emperor wouldn't be easy to deal with. The space of despair shrank once again. Mo Xiaolang wasn't worried about himself. Since Long Chen had chosen to fight, he could only watch. At this moment, he was also looking for the Desolation Great Emperor's position. At that moment, a frightening aura descended. The Desolation Great Emperor wasn't dead. How could such a creature be killed by the suppression of Long Chen's golden demon suppressing column? Dragon, you can enter my stomach now. At this moment, a pitiful voice rang out in the gravity maze. The splatter of blood was expanding rapidly. The Desolation Great Emperor was finally going to reveal his true form. Dragon Devourer. It was also a creature shrouded in clouds, but it was even bigger than Long Chen. In the dusky space, Long Chen could feel the other party's flesh growing rapidly. More and more balls of flesh appeared out of thin air, making Long Chen feel an extreme sense of danger and fear. His divine dragon body was huge, but the Dragon Devourer was even bigger. The balls of flesh piled up in front of Long Chen were probably more than 20,000 meters in diameter. This was the Desolation Great Emperor. This was the Dragon Devourer. Long Chen couldn't see the Desolation Great Emperor's face for the time being. He could only see the huge mouth that was thousands of meters long. A disgusting smell came from the beast's mouth, and he could vaguely see the rows of shark-like teeth. Compared to Long Chen's dragon claws, it was even more shocking. This place seems too small. You can't unleash your full potential. In that case, I'll give you a bigger space. The Desolation Great Emperor's voice came from the darkness. As soon as he finished speaking, the rune walls of the confinement room began to shatter and disappear in large amounts. Let's go. The Desolation Great Emperor laughed heartily. The huge ball of flesh that was comparable to a mountain instantly disappeared in front of Long Chen and rose upwards. Long Chen sensed the smell of the draconic continent. Above was the exit. Although the gravity-bewildering array wasn't small, it was indeed small for Long Chen and the Desolation Great Emperor. The divine dragon body passed through the dense fog and finally arrived at the entrance of the ancient demon domain. This place was uninhabited and covered in fog. The space was huge, and it was the perfect place for a battle. The Desolation Great Emperor probably knew that Long Chen wouldn't enter his mouth obediently. After coming out, Long Chen soared into the sky and finally got a clear look at the giant beast. It was similar to the second statue. The The dragon-devouring beast had the wings of a divine dragon. It had no limbs and was just a huge and disgusting ball of flesh. Its weight was at least 50 times that of Long Chen. Its length, height and width were all more than 20,000 meters, while Long Chen was only 10,000 meters long. Therefore, if the dragon-devouring beast devoured Long Chen, he probably wouldn't feel any pressure at all. In particular, its horrifying mouth was almost 3,000 meters long. There were countless rows of sharp teeth inside, making one's hair stand on end. With such a horrifying appearance in front of Long Chen, ordinary divine dragons would probably be frightened out of their wits. This strange creature was simply a divine dragon's nightmare. Of course, it was only limited to young dragons. A true divine dragon would be a nightmare for the dragon-devouring beast. To be honest, after coming out of there, Long Chen could take Mo Xiaolang and leave. However, he couldn't because the space of despair outside Mo Xiaolang had shrunk to the point that it was sticking to Mo Xiaolang's body. If it shrunk any further, Mo Xiaolang would definitely be squeezed to death. Long Chen had no way of getting rid of this space of despair. The only way was for the Desolation Great Emperor to get rid of it himself. This was a life-and-death situation where the future was unpredictable. Long Chen was on the verge of going crazy. So what if he came out? There was no way to escape now. All he could do was kill. The 10,000-meter-long body swooped down from the sky and headed for the dragon-devouring beast again. Hatred filled Long Chen's eyes. I'm really excited. Dragon, are you going to come into my stomach? What a wise choice. The huge dragon-devouring beast stayed where it was. Due to its huge size, it couldn't move at all. However, when Long Chen's divine dragon tail whip smashed towards the dragon-devouring beast again, its body actually became illusory. The huge meatball actually appeared in another direction. Can you catch up with me? If the dragon-devouring beast wasn't good at illusory and speed, how could it steal the young dragons? Long Chen was almost driven crazy by him. Let me show you what I've achieved. The Desolation Great Emperor suddenly opened his mouth. In his mouth, a total of 5 perfect divine dragon skeletons appeared. Under the control of the dragon-devouring beast, these divine dragons were only left with skeletons, but they still charged towards Long Chen. My darling, you will soon become one of them. Hurry up and enter my stomach. Otherwise, your brother Xiao Lang seems to be in trouble. As the Desolation Great Emperor laughed and the skeletons of the divine dragons spread towards Long Chen, the space of despair had already started to squeeze Mo Xiaolang's body.